Good evening, weary traveller. You ease the door closed, letting the rain hush behind you, while a shy ember flares beneath the tavern hearth. Warm shadows sway across the beams, stroking your eyelids with copper light, inviting you to pause, breathe, arrive. Settle your cloak. Feel its damp wool soften as heat rises. The air tastes of honeyed bread and distant sea salt carried inland by Roman patrols. Outside, Britannia's night wind rattles the shutters. Yet here, only candlelight wanders, gentle and unhurried. Hear the muted clank of iron harness outside. Those hoofprints, catalogued by modern archaeologists, still pattern the mud beyond the threshold, proof that what cradles you tonight once echoed with garrons. If you wish, draw a little closer. Place your palms round the clay cup, waiting on the table. Sense its quiet glow seep into your fingers. Leave a note in thought alone. Tell me where you are listening from, what hour the moon keeps for you, so our two moments mingle like twin sparks. Tonight, we wander a real frontier inn, circa the 2nd century, scribed in garrison records and tax ledgers still sleeping in British soil. Every creak you hear, every wisp of barley smoke, once belonged to living throats, living roofs. Nothing here is woven from fiction. In a few breaths, the story will unfold softly. 10 small scenes, each a drifting candle, the baker lifting dawn loaves, the legionary trading rumours, the harp trembling down the hall. You need only rest beneath the lattice of scents and sounds while time loosens its knots. Listen now. One bead of wax slips, pauses, falls. The tavern exhales. Your heartbeat follows, slower, softer. Wind circles the eaves, but its edge is blunted. The world narrows to glow, wool, rain, silence, and the path opening before you. Take the first step, lightly. You rise, slow as mist, and drift to the threshold where the tavern's timber meets the Roman road. Outside, a pewter half-light quivers. Raindrops gleam on paving stones, laid by the 6th Legion in Emperor Hadrian's 2nd year, AD 122, when the wall was still a rumour of fresh mortar. A cart rolls past, wheel rims hissing, leaving the smell of wet oak and crushed heather. That scent settles on your tongue, earthy, faintly bitter, almost like yesterday's small beer. A raven barks from a lichen-slick milestone, as if tallying souls awake before cockcrow, then flaps inland, black wings scribbling across grey dawn. Turn left, and the inn-yard reveals itself. Muck, straw, 2 sleepy mules, 1 disastrously curious goose. The bird eyes your sandals, and for a wicked second seems ready to claim them. You step back, chuckling. Thankful geese lack opposable thumbs. Wind spins through the archway, cool, insistent, tugging at your cloak, carrying whispers of Latin orders from the fort a mile north. Historians still argue whether that garrison ever got decent socks. You recall, smiling. A water-stained tablet found at Vindolanda lists endless pleas for warmer clothing, proof that even empire trembles before British drizzle. You wander past stacked amphorae that once ferried Spanish olive oil along the Tyne. Their clay skins now cradle rainwater and 1 bored frog. Farther on, a stable door yawns. Inside, steam spirals from horse muzzles, blending with hay dust and the syrupy smell of molasses feed. A legionary helmet hangs from a nail, cheek plates glinting. Touch it lightly, cool metal, faint echo of last night's patrol. Rumour says its owner snores louder than a cornu horn. Nearby, a rack of spears leans against stone. Ash shafts, iron heads, each nick a stamped memory of skirmish or training blunder. Follow the drip of eaves toward the bathhouse annex. Heat breathes from the doorway, sweet with cedar resin. Inside, slaves stoke a hypocaust, feeding logs beneath suspended floors. The air trembles above bronze braziers, painting your shadow in waves. One attendant hums an old Campanian lullaby, crotchety yet soothing. Another sprinkles rosemary into the water, swearing it banishes both chill and last night's cheap wine. You trail fingers along a mosaic of Neptune, its tesserae slick, each piece a sliver of imported glass, no larger than a fingernail. Luxury scattered underfoot, unnoticed by half-drunk recruits. Beyond the baths, a cobbled lane slopes toward the civilian quarter. Merchants unfurl awnings, striped crimson and woad blue, colours still vivid despite rain. The butcher's window boasts boar haunches, speckled with rosemary needles. The baker's vent exhales clouds of barley steam that wrap around you like a blanket. Nearby, a signboard creaks, Caro et Chavicia, promising meat and beer, though gossip claims the landlord waters both. One jester quipped the ale is so thin a flea could backstroke through it and never wet a whisker. You laugh softly, glad your cup last night came from the private keg behind the bar. A stray dog appears, tail low, ears pricked. You break a crust from your pocket, offer it. The animal snatches, crunches, and, embarrassingly, sneezes flour onto your boots. A soldier, passing with a bundle of firewood, grins, mutters, Fortuna, favet, stultus. Fortune favours fools, then vanishes into drizzle. The phrase lingers, warm as the bread scent, weaving with another, wind licking the tavern shutters. Candlelight, waiting just beyond. Cross a shallow brook that threads beneath a crumbling arch. Water slaps stone, cold as forged iron. You feel it spray on your wrist, tiny needles waking skin. The stream once powered a mill that ground wheat for legion rations. An operation so precise, a single broken cog merited a report to Eberacum headquarters. Records say the miller was fined 1 denarius for every hour the grindstone stood idle. A harsh rule, though perhaps fairer than your uncle's bakery, fined only by burnt loaves and grumpy neighbours. Ahead looms the boundary ditch, spiked with wooden palisades. Lanterns sway on poles, dim but steady. A sentry wraps his cloak tighter, stamping feet in the mud. He greets you with a nod, eyes half-lidded, voice thick with sleep. You trade pleasantries about weather, pigs, and the elusive concept of a dry Roman boot. Somewhere beyond, the wall stretches east to west, 47,000 paces. A monumental promise that Rome's reach ends only where the sky closes. Yet even granite yields to lichen. Tiny green blossoms nibble the mortar, silent rebels against imperial stone. You turn back as dawn brightens, clouds part just enough to reveal a smear of rose on the horizon. Sparrows burst from hawthorn, wings whirring like parchment in a scribe's rush. The tavern door yaws again, warm lamplight spills, gold pooling on flagstones. Step inside. The room gathers you instantly, the crackle of hearth, the sleepy clatter of wooden cups, the hush of travellers still dozing in loft corners. A fresh taper is lit, its flame fluttering like a captive firefly. Wax scent mingles with cinnamon porridge, simmering nearby. The hostess appears, cheeks flushed from oven heat. She slides a trencher toward you, thick rye, pat of butter, melting, then winks, promising stronger drink once the decurion finishes morning prayers. Her apron smells of sage, her laughter of late-kept secrets. She points to a small alcove beneath the stair where you may rest again, but curiosity tugs, so you linger by the lattice window, watching rain soften into mist. There, across the yard, two auxiliaries share a joke. Something about marching trousers shrinking in the wash. Their laughter lifts, brief and bright, before dissolving in drizzle. For a heartbeat, you picture yourself in their ranks, shield glinting, sandals squelching through peat. Then the tavern's hush folds over you once more. Candlelight strokes your knuckles. Hearth smoke curls like a lazy cat around your ankles. Return to your bench, draw the woolen blanket higher. Wood pops, one spark leaps, fades. The goose outside finally settles. Heroic vigil abandoned. Someone upstairs murmurs a dream in Gallic, soft, almost melodic. You feel the inn sway with the wind, timbers groaning, old bones, yet faithful. And in that slow creak, you hear centuries sliding past. Traders, scribes, farmers, legionaries, each borrowing this same roof, this same fragile warmth, before continuing north or south, home or nowhere. Let the knowledge settle. All is true, noted in pay scrolls, scratched on wax tablets, buried in trenches. Archaeologists now sift on chilled mornings, much like this. The cup in your hand echoes their cups, the ember, their fires. Even the joke about watery beer appears in a scribble at Vindolanda. Proof humour, like hunger, survives empires. Listen, the wind circles again, gentle, tired, carrying sea salt, horse sweat, lamp oil, rain. It sighs around the candle, but the flame steadies, brave. You breathe with it, slow, intentional. Through the open stairwell, dawn's first blue note settles on the rafters, pale as linen. Your heartbeat aligns with the hush, evenly spaced, lantern warm. Another breath, and the tavern's murmurs recede, as though walls drift outward, leaving only you, the blanket, the fading drum of rain. Take one last glance at the hearth. Embers glow like miniature suns, holding night at bay. Soon chapter 1 will arrive. The bakery door opening, steam billowing, crust cracking, but not yet. Now is the pause before stories, the slow pivot from waking to listening. Rest, traveller, let the wind close its palm around the inn. Let the candle lean toward you. Let the room expand until time itself feels no need to march. You wake before the rooster dares, wrapped in wool and half-dream, drawn by a scent that seeps through floorboards like sunlight through shutters. Warm yeast, damp straw, a tease of wood smoke laced with honey. Each ribbon of aroma coils into your nostrils, tugging you from the blanket's hush. Outside the window, dawn is still rumour. The candle by your bedside gutters, then rallies, pooling gold against the clay wall. A slow breath, a stretch, and you rise, toes brushing the cool plank, heartbeat pacing the hush. Pull your cloak, still scented with last night's rain, around your shoulders and step into the corridor. Floorboards sigh, polite but firm, reminding you that centuries rest beneath every nail. At the stair's base, amber light leaks beneath a thick door. You pause, hand on latch, savouring this moment before unveiling the source of that irresistible perfume. Then gently you enter. Heat swells, wraps you instantly. Cheeks bloom, eyes sting with pleasant tears. The room is a cave of fire and flour. To the left stands the domed oven, bricks glowing like captive sunset. To the right, a stone table dusted snow white, strewn with bowls, paddles, and a little scoop carved as a dolphin. Evidence that even bakers dream of faraway seas. In the centre, Sabrina the baker works, arms floured to the elbow, dark hair twisted in a scarf. She hums a fragment of an old Celtic lullaby. The dough under her fists answers in soft sighs. You greet her softly. She nods without turning, presses a fist into dough the colour of pearl, folds, presses again. The rhythm is almost hypnotic. You watch the dough swell beneath her palms, a live thing breathing, surrendering. Between thumps, she sprinkles ground coriander from a jar. Keeps the crust crisp, she whispers, and the spirits polite. Historians still argue whether Roman soldiers actually seasoned army bread with coriander, or if that was just frontier fancy. But the scent insists, yes. Sabrina divides the mound into 8 loaves, rounds them with cupped hands, scores each belly with a swift wooden blade. Tiny clouds of flour drift, catching oven light like wandering stars. She slides the first loaf onto a wooden peel, shoves it into the mouth of glowing brick, and the crust begins its slow alchemy. You close your eyes, listening. First, the quiet hiss of water turning to steam, then a distant pop, grain hull surrendering, clear as frost cracking on a pond. A sigh escapes you. Outside, wind brushes the shutters in approval. Another loaf enters the fire, another bloom of fragrance. Bread, you realize, is the tavern's sunrise. Even if the sky stays grey, this oven will paint morning in scent. Sabrina beckons you nearer. She hands over a small lump of raw dough. Pinch, twist, knot, she instructs. Your clumsy fingers attempt her grace. The dough clings, tickles, yields. You smell barley on your skin, feel the faint pulse of yeast. She laughs, a soft, flour-dusted laugh, and confides that the best bakers taste dough with their fingertips long before their tongues. The paste tells its secrets early, she winks. A PG-13 joke slips out. Unlike my last suitor, who only loosened up after 2 cups of spiced wine, you both snicker, dough print secrets floating in the warm air. The oven's mouth gleams. She lets you place the knot near the edge. Beginner's corner, coolest flame. As you withdraw, sparks leap, swirl, settle on the hearthstone like orange snow. One lands on your sleeve, fizzles out. No harm done, though you pat the cloth in mock alarm. Another PG-13 quip surfaces. Careful, love. Bakehouse kisses leave permanent marks. You grin despite yourself. Across the room, rows of cooling loaves wait on latticed shelves. You approach, drawn by their hypnotic pattern. Round, round, flat, round. Each loaf bearing the baker's signature stamp, SPQR nested within a wreath. Official bread for official stomachs. You lift one, turn it, feel weight and warmth. Steam seeps from the score mark, carrying whispers of harvested summer. A tiny crackling note, like distant rain on parchment, speaks of crust, contracting as it cools. Sabrina joins you, holds a knife to the crust. Ready? The blade breaks the surface with a soft crack. Heat escapes, fragrant, rich. She smears a slab of butter, imported from a farm south of Ibaracum, across the crumb. It melts instantly, vanishing into spongy heaven. She tears the loaf into halves, offers you the larger. Hospitality is an art on the frontier. You bite, and the world hushes. Crust shatters, interior pillows, butter kisses salt. Simple, ancient, perfect. Shoulders relax, jaw drifts, eyes half close. Calm settles like new snow. Sabrina pours small mugs of posca, vinegared water sweetened with honey. The tang sharpens the bread's richness. She teases, breakfast of champions, if champions enjoy mild, acid reflux. You laugh again. Third PG-13, joke done, quota met. Between bites, conversation wanders. She tells of grain shipments delayed by channel storms, of soldiers who claim their rations taste of rat tails, of rumours that Hadrian himself will tour the wall next season. You mention the goose. She rolls eyes. Goose belongs to the taverner's sister, apparently convinced it can spy on handsome soldiers. If that bird starts wearing legion crests, she sighs, I'm moving to Gaul. Another loaf emerges from the oven. This one cracks down the middle, exposing soft belly. She sucks in breath. Perfect ear, she declares, pointing to the crust ridge. You nod as if you knew. Bread vocabulary is poetry. Ear, bloom, shoulder, gringe. You roll the words on your tongue while crumb lingers there too. Seconds stretch into long, warm minutes. Oven, candle, bread, they conspire to slow the world. Outside, rain resumes, but softer now, mindful of sleeping travellers. You and Sabrina work in gentle synchrony. She kneads, you sweep stray flour. She slides, you fetch water. Silence peppered by small smiles. There's music here. Thump, scrape, hiss, crackle, sigh, repeat. Half an hour later, the first customers appear. A lanky auxiliary named Marcellus stumbles in, helmet askew, claiming he could smell crust from the rampart. Sabrina hands him a heel. He bows theatrically, declares her the goddess of dawn. Marcellus winks at you, whispering that if bread were a woman, he'd marry it, but then he'd eat his wife and be single again. A logistical nightmare, really. You smirk, promise to inform the chaplain. More soldiers arrive, trading coins for loaves stamped with their century numbers. Administrative precision disguised as breakfast. One complains the crust is too hard. Sabrina retorts that his jaw is too lazy. Another scolds him, quoting Cato's agricultural treatise about proper mastication. The room groans. Even here, Latin dad jokes roam free. In a lull, Sabrina pulls a small earthen jar from the shelf. It holds yesterday's levain, sour, lively, ancient. She feeds it flour and water, stirs. Bubbles rise, tiny universes forming. You peer in, marveling. Bread, you realize, is domesticated wildness. Yeast captured, nurtured, directed, yet always slightly untamed. Sabrina must guess your thought. She points to the jar. Remember, she murmurs, all civilizations are built on things that want to escape. A log shifts in the oven, sparks spray. You glance at the ceiling beams, dark with decades of smoke. You spot a carved inscription, MPXX Vale, left by a baker from the 20th Legion. Probably a boast or simple inventory mark. You trace the grooves with a fingertip, feeling history under ash. You step outside for cool air. Dawn has advanced, sky silvered. Steam rises from the roof vent. Bread perfume now mingles with wet earth, horse sweat, pine resin from the woodpile. An amphora delivery rattles by, driver yawning. He waves a clay token. You glimpse the stencil for Spanish, Baedeker, olive. Global trade, fueling local breakfast. A thought both grand and homely. Returning inside, you notice Sabrina weighing barley flour on a bronze scale. She explains this batch is for horse bread, feed loaves for cavalry mounts. She whacks your arm playfully when you joke you couldn't tell the difference last night. She says the secret is nettle meal and ground beans which make the horses' coats shine. You taste a crumb. It is bland but not terrible. Could use more butter, you mutter. She cackles. Near the oven, a scroll lies open. It's her tally of grain versus loaf, a document the quartermaster will sign. Tiny numerals march in neat columns. There is beauty even in bureaucracy. You ask about shortages. She shrugs. If supplies run thin, She stretches dough with mashed roots. The troops grumble, she says, yet they still chew. You nod. Hunger negotiates pride. A banging at the door interrupts. The goose, again, pecking wood for crumbs. Sabrina tosses a burnt heel outside. The bird snaps it, honks triumphantly, struts away like a short senator. Pliny once wrote that geese saved Rome by honking at Gauls. True heroism sometimes honks, apparently. Inside, Sabrina starts mixing a sweet dough for festival buns. Lard, dried figs, fennel seeds. She invites you to grind the seeds in a mortar. You pound gently, inhaling their licorice scent. She pours in honey, thick as molten amber. The mixture glistens under candlelight, tempting as treasure. She warns of thieves with sweet teeth, recounting how last Saturnalia a legionary stole a tray and was forced to clean latrines for a fortnight. You vow to behave. When the buns enter the oven, a new fragrance blossoms. Spice, fruit, caramel. The room seems to spin slower, as though savouring its own aroma. You lean on the table, almost drowsy. Fire pops, dough settles, heartbeat lulls. Your eyelids flutter. Sabrina nudges you toward a stool by the window. Rest, she says. Bread will rise without you. You obey, sit, breathe. Candle glow halos the bowl of fennel. Steam fogs the panes, drawing ghostly hillsides. Wind outside hushes like applause at the end of a lullaby. Time stretches again. You think of distant fields where this grain sprouted last spring, of farmers counting seeds, of millstones churning. You think of river barges, of legion provisioning lists, of the endless stomach of an empire, all culminating here, in this room, in this scent, in this humble loaf, warming your palms. A strange detail surfaces. Sabrina admits she once baked a loaf shaped like a boar for a festival, but the snout bulged mid-bake, looked obscene, and the prefect refused to serve it. The loaf became pig feed. Proof bread can misbehave. Another minute, another loaf completes its journey. She taps the base, hollow thump, perfect. You assist, transferring to the rack. Rows glisten, a terracotta battalion cooling in order. She marks the scroll. 42 loaves, plus 3 for tavern patrons, plus 1 goose bribe. Ledgers never sleep. The candle flickers. Shoulders slacken further. Sabrina's voice becomes distant, like a lullaby from a far room. You let the sounds blur, knead, scrape, flutter, rain. Breath slows, eyes heavy. In the margin of consciousness, you recall Hadrian's rumoured visit and wonder whether the emperor will notice the coriander. Noses never lie. The oven dims, new logs crackle. Sabrina wipes flour off her arms, closes the door to preserve heat. She hands you the tiny knot you shaped earlier. Baked golden, lopsided, but proud. You bite, it is dense, earnest, yours. Crumb sticks to your lip. You laugh softly. A bell rings, breakfast signal. Upstairs, feet shuffle. The tavern awakes. Yet you feel strangely outside time, as if bread anchored you to a gentler pace. Maybe that is its quiet power, grain made patient, fire made kind. You watch steam feather off a cooling loaf, rising, disappearing into rafters black with memory. One mote of flour drifts, catches dawn light, glows, vanishes, and with it, worry slips. Sabrina thanks you for the help. You promise to return. She places a warm bun in your hand for later, whispers, share it, and the day will be sweeter. You tuck it into your cloak pocket, where its heat pulses like a tame hearth. You step toward the door, pause. The oven murmurs behind, wind listens ahead. Take one last breath. Fill lungs with bread, butter, spice, slowly release. The candle beside a dolphin scoop, gutters, steadies. One more exhale, then you slip into the corridor, mind hushed, body buoyed by crumb and crust, heart beating soft, steady, satisfied. A sudden knock startles you. The side door swings wide, letting in a courier soaked to his knees. He pants, requests 2 loaves for the command tent. While Sabrina wraps them, he recounts that at first light a patrol skirmished with Brigantian raiders near Salernum. No Roman casualties, though one unlucky mule bolted into the river, swimming off with half the week's oats. Everyone laughed except the quartermaster, who now owes the mule a promotion. The tale reminds you of a bronze tablet dated 17th of September, AD 124, commemorating the first loaf baked in this very kiln. Real people, real dates, real hunger, met with fire and flour. History, you think, is yesterday, plus names we've forgotten. When the courier departs, Sabrina leans against the door, whispering, thankful. Uppercase hope offered to whatever household gods guard tavern ovens. She smiles, and the whole room softens, walls acknowledging this partnership between heat, hands and hearts. The buns are ready. She slides the tray out, figs blistered, fennel sparkling, steam rises in glorious clouds. For one heartbeat, every sense heightens, sweet, sharp, warm, bright. Then the rush settles. You each taste a corner. Syrup dribbles, laughter follows. A final PG-13 joke slips when Sabrina licks honey from her thumb, shrugging. Better than kissing the centurion with helmet hair. You nearly choke on crumbs. Outside, the fort bell tolls twice. Morning assembly. Soldiers will soon file by, armor clinking, mouths watering. You help arrange festival buns on a reed mat by the window, so passers-by can smell celebration. Bread as bulletin, scent as scroll, and the morning, still wet and grey, suddenly feels bright enough for everyone here. A hush settles, then the shutter shifts. A thin breath of northeast wind threads the slats and strokes your cheek. Cool, inquisitive, smelling of peat smoke and distant gorse. Candle flame leans toward it, a courteous bow, then rights itself, halo trembling like a gold petal. You stand in the corridor between kitchen glow and stable dark, wrapped in damp wool, listening to wood complain in small vowels. Outside, somewhere beyond the courtyard, owl wings rasp, a single syllable of night. You draw closer to the window. The latch is bronze, greened by years of rain. Lift it slowly. A wider tide of wind tumbles in, and with it arrive scattered souvenirs. The iron tang of forge, sparks cooling in mud, the sour breath of unfiltered wine spilled after dice, the faint sweetness of crushed meadow, sweet left on a soldier's cloak. Each scent hangs a moment, then drifts upward, lost among rafters blackened by centuries of hearth fire. Below, torches gutter along the inner palisade. Their light catches wet flagstones, painting quicksilver rivers that vanish when clouds swallow the half-moon. You note the haze, the same silver bloom Tacitus once described when recounting Caledonian bogs. Historians still argue whether the Roman officers truly believed these northern mists housed spirits, or simply needed an excuse for missing patrol shoes. Across the yard a watchtower groans, a sentry coughs, curses the cold, his Latin slurs into Brittonic as he mutters about toes turning to pebbles. The sound drifts to you on the wind sleeve, then slips past, like gossip deciding you are not the intended ear. A spark of pity glows, brief, blue, then fades. You pull the shutter, nearly closed, leaving a finger-wide gap. Wind now filters in manageable threads, gentle enough to breathe without shiver. Another candle sits on a wall bracket, steady companion to the first. Their twin glows map the corridor, islands of amber on a sea of darkness. Motif returns, flame confides, wind replies, wood sighs, a rhythm older than empire. Further along, the back door opens, squeak, sigh, admitting Lucanus, the inn's night steward. He cradles a clay jug, shoulders dusted with flour. Spotting you, he nods, raises the jug. Pine pitch oil, he whispers, voice low so sleep upstairs remains undisturbed. For the fort's signal torches, commander wants them brighter, claims even a blind Brigantian bard should spot our patrol line. He snorts, as though bards crave spear tips for breakfast. A PG-13 grin follows. Or maybe he simply likes things long and hot, torches, I mean. Lucanus winks, letting the joke hang like smoke. You help him set the jug near the hearth. The liquid inside is thick, glugging, amber as captive sunset. Lucanus removes a rag, dips it, ties the soaked strip around a split stave. Makeshift flare, he says, just in case. He leans closer, confiding that last winter a patrol tried to signal the fort by waving flaming chicken feathers. Unfortunately, the feathers burned faster than courage, leaving the men wingless and singed where no man wishes singe. Second PG-13, whisper earned. He heads out again, door shuts. Silence except for rain's faint hiss and candle crackle. Tiny, steady applause. You lean back against the wall, feel the grain press through your cloak. Touch rough oak warm from trapped hearth heat. Underneath, the faint vibration of wind trapped in beams. Outside, hoofbeats echo. A courier, judging by tempo, light mount, urgent rhythm, passes the gate, then fades along the road. Your mind sketches his likely message. Grain tallies, weather warnings, perhaps news of Emperor Hadrian ordering a new vallum to buttress the wall's turf core. In 128 AD, such an order did arrive, carved on a milestone near Camboglana. The stone still sits in damp pasture, letters eroded but legible if the sun hits just so. The courier's echo slides into quiet, swallowed by distance. Wind stiffens again, slips through your shutter gap, tugs at the candle. Flame flutters, then splits, two tongues dancing before merging anew. You watch, entranced. Light dims, swells, dims, hypnotic, like slow breathing. Another gust, shutter taps twice, polite yet persistent. You hold it steady with one palm, feeling the pulse of weather, and peer out. Clouds part, moon emerges, pale coin. Its shine lays a ribbon on the Via Principalis, highlighting puddles, spear tips of stacked peeler. The polished boss of an abandoned scutum, propped against a barrel. Moonlight also reveals a slanted patch of wall where mortar looks fresh. Repairs from the last raid, perhaps. Beneath that, a ladder stands lonely, rung slick with rain. Somewhere a hammer strikes, faint ping, then nothing. Work never truly sleeps on the frontier. A sudden laugh rings from the stables, deep, sudden, then muffled, as though someone claps a hand over a mouth. You picture two auxiliaries sharing contraband, Gaulish Applejack, swapping stories about women in Londinium, who allegedly charge extra if clients mispronounce their names. PG-13 enough, you suppose. Wind shifts again. This time it delivers the forge's perfume, charcoal, iron, and an undertone of lanolin from wool cloaks hung too close to sparks. The amalgam reminds you of Sagum cloaks, heavy, tightly woven, soaked in lanolin, to repel rain, and conveniently some arrows when thick enough. Few tourists know the trick, Even fewer know sagum fibers could be re-oiled with melted mutton fat, leaving soldiers smelling like walking stew pots. Obscure detail now noted. You close the shutter at last, easing the iron latch into its socket. Wind song dims, now only a faint hum around eaves. Candle stabilizes, glow deepening to honey. You breathe once, long, and the hush answers. Step back toward your room. Corridor narrows, floorboard grumbles under heel. Ahead, a single clay lamp guards the staircase. Its wick floats in olive oil, saved from the previous night's frying. Economy dictates nothing is wasted. The lamp's little flame, cousin of your candles, nods as you pass, saying perhaps, all fires are family. Climb the stairs, each tread dips, worn by boots, sandals, bare feet, countless passings. Halfway a draft sneaks up the stairwell, brushing your calves. You pause, feel its cool stripe against warmer air. Note how body registers two temperatures at once. Sensory trio completes. Smell of oil, feel of draft, faint creak of rope bed overhead. At the landing, a window slit faces north. No shutter, just a slab of oiled hide tacked loosely. Wind again slides through the seams, carrying sea salt, barnacle memory. You part the hide a finger's width, black horizon, single beacon flame on far ridge. Maybe signal tower, the 46. The light flutters Morse messages unknown to you, but comforting nonetheless. Proof that someone, somewhere, keeps watch while you drift. You reach your chamber. Candle from earlier still guards the washstand. Stub shorter now, flame steady. Motif returns. Night wind, candle calm. You unpin cloak, drape it across a stool. Wall exhales wet hillside scent. Earth, sheep, rosemary crushed under hooves. You set boots by the hearth tile. Steam curls from seams. Brush fingertips over toes. Skin cool, grateful. On the sill rests a wax tablet left by a previous guest. Lines of shorthand, barely legible. Supply figures, names. The phrase propter pluvium, because of rain, repeated 3 times. You trace the marks, wonder who wrote them. Candle glow fills grooves, makes them momentarily golden. You draw curtains, thin linen, patched but clean. They flutter at the hem. Wind still finds fissures. It is softer now, like a storyteller portioning final lines. You sit on mattress, straw tick in squeaks, and untie hair or cap. Breath slows, candle casts shadow ribbons on ceiling, weaving with roof beam ghosts. I wonder if the man who chopped these rafters imagined they'd cradle sleepers 2 millennia hence. Outside, a horn moans low, change of watch at the north gate. 2 notes, falling, response horn farther east, higher, answers. Echo overlaps, fades, rain quits, leaving gutters dripping steady metronome. Wind sighs, satisfied, as if having delivered all its messages for one night. You lie back, blanket covers chin, wool warms fast, mattress yields, straw rustles, candle near your head, flickers but does not mock. Instead it murmurs, hush, hush, hush. Your pulse copies that tempo. Shutter no longer rattles, it only whispers to hinge in dream language. Through half-closed lashes you watch ceiling shadow sway, slow, deliberate, like oars in twilight water. Each dip lines with a breath, between breaths, stillness. Then another dip. The rhythm entices eyelids downward, they obey. Mind lingers on one final tick of curiosity. This whole fort, this whole road, exists because an emperor feared what waited in northern forests. So he drew a line of stone, yet wind, effortless, crosses back and forth, carrying jokes, forge smoke, and the scent of coriander bread. Barriers hold bodies, seldom breath. Your last smile floats, barely there. Third PG-13 jokey flickers in memory. Soldiers' gossip that wind up here is so cold it can freeze ambition and certain extremities at the same instant, which they say keeps campaign romances refreshingly brief. You chuckle, drowsy. Candle bends once more, faint blue edge at base, signalling fatigue. You watch wax droop, bead, glide, tick. Another bead, tick. Between ticks, whole worlds open, soft and unhurried. Breath slows, chest sinks deeper into straw. Wind purrs under eave. Somewhere a horse stamps, then quiets. Shadow fades, candle's halo blurs to amber cloud. Wind thread thins, near silent. Blanket anchors you to mattress, muscles unknot. Heartbeat, slow, steady, sure, joins the night's quieter choir. One more exhale, weightless. Candle dims, then steadies. Flame, wind, hush, loop complete. You descend into the courtyard while dawn still stretches, pink and pewter, along the rim of the sky. The air tastes of damp moss and something sharper, iron newly bared to rain. A soft cough of bellows drifts from the forge, a patient beast waiting to be fed. Night wind, never one to retire quietly, slips under the tavern's eaves, nudging the candle at the doorway. Flame bows, recovers, bows again. The familiar ritual of greeting. Step over the threshold. Heat meets you at once, a wall of shimmering breath that smells of charcoal, hot metal, and the bittersweet tang of oak sap. Sparks whirl past like frantic fireflies, bright, brief, gone. In the half-glow stand two figures, Artorius, the resident smith, muscles mapped by years of hammer swing, and his apprentice, tiny Nia, sleeves too long, eyes too keen. Artorius lifts a glowing billet, orange at the core, at the colour of low sun seen through shut eyelids. He rests it on the anvil, nods for Nia to strike. The hammer falls, rings clear, and a wave of metallic perfume rolls toward you, settling in your throat like a strange lozenge. Artorius glances up, offers a soot-smudged grin. Early riser, he rumbles, voice gravel stroked by honey. He gestures you closer, and you obey, though the radiant heat feels like leaning into summer. The forge's single lantern swings overhead, casting trembling halos across ceiling beams. Wind sneaks through a chink in the wall, shoulders the lantern, shadow pirouettes, then retreats. Candle motif, wind motif, always dancing. Artorius returns the bar to the coals, works the bellows. Whoosh, whoosh, a dragon lulled, then roused. Flames lick brighter, blue core, yellow tongues, faint hiss like silk, tearing slowly. He beckons again. Feel the draft? That's the fire drinking. You extend a hand, heat skims the skin, prickly, not painful. Sparks land on your cuff, fizzle, leave tiny shooting star scars on wool. You brush them off, amused. Artorius winks. Fire kisses, harmless if you respect the sender. He withdraws the medal, now a sunrise blush, sets it atop the anvil. Hammer meets iron, cadence steady, clang, pause, clang. Each strike a syllable in some ancient poem. Between blows he mutters, edge for centurion Varus, claims his old gladius is dull as Senate gossip. Nia snorts, adds under her breath that Senate gossip can slice reputations faster than steel. First PG-13 joke earned. You chuckle. Artorius nearly drops the hammer, laughter shaking his massive shoulders. As they work, you notice details. The anvil's horn polished slit, the hardy whole rim chipped like a bitten coin, the little bucket of water steaming with each fallen ember. A row of finished blades rests on a rack, edges oiled, surfaces patterned from folding and refolding. Watery lines shimmer when the lantern swings. You touch one lightly, cool, silent, patient. Artorius nods approval. That sword waited 9 hours in the quench, no less. Steel's just like people. Rush it, and it cracks. Wind finds another gap, threads through horseshoe stacks, whistles a thin note. The lantern sways, its candle stutters, steadies. You mark time by wax drip, tick, tick, tiny river, freezing mid-fall. Night wind exhales, satisfied. Nia wheels a small cart forward, laden with scraps, broken nails, bent rivets, twisted spearheads. Recycling, she explains. Soldiers drop them, farmers trade them, and the smith rebirths them. She sorts pieces by feel. Her fingertips read hardness, the way scribes read ink. One lump catches her eye, corroded, pockmarked. She frowns, turns it, calls you over. See these pits? Some say they come from the ore's spirit. Others swear it's improper smelting. Historians still argue whether Roman ironmasters could control carbon that precisely in frontier forges. She shrugs. I think the truth lies somewhere between ambition and luck. Artorius overhears, grins. Luck favors those who quench twice. He brandishes tongs, thrusts the billet into a barrel of water. Steam erupts, clouding the room. A rush of evaporated iron kisses your lips, tastes metallic, almost bloody. Your pulse flickers, matching hammer rhythm. While the blade cools, Artorius invites you to try a lighter task. Nail forging. He presses a thumb-sized rod into your palm, warm, gritty. 4 blows, twist, cut, easy. He guides your stance, feet wide, elbow loose. Focus on the anvil, not the hammer. Candlelight glints on the rod. Night wind hushes, as if watching. You inhale, swing, clang. Shock travels up your arm, teeth tingle. Artorius laughs gently, steadies your grip. Second blow truer. The rod flares at the tip, flattening into crude sharpness. 2 more strikes, a twist with pliers, a chop with the hardy. You hold a crooked nail, proud as any king. Artorius peers, nods with exaggerated seriousness. See, a masterpiece of modern fastening. He waggles brows. Someone somewhere will hang a very crooked horseshoe. Second PG-13 laugh slips from Nia. At least it will point good luck sideways, toward the latrine. She almost drops tongs, stifling her giggle. Artorius returns to his blade, now dull cherry. He files the edge, tiny rasps sending metallic snow across the floor. Nia sweeps, each stroke of broom releases warm dust and hidden sparks. You crouch, trace a fingertip through filings, glittering like evening frost on basalt. Wind swoops, lifts a swirl of them. They dance briefly in candle halo, then vanish. Break time, Nia brings mugs of small beer. Foam smells yeasty, breadish, echo of the baker's dawn. You sip, palate cooled by grain sweetness. Artorius raises his mug. To things reborn in fire. You toast, swallow. The beer slides smooth, leaves tongue tingling with mild fizz. Conversation drifts. Artorius speaks of his youth near Lugdunum, where rivers ran copper green and smiths tempered swords in mountain snow. He claims a legendary blade that could cleave silk mid-air, though he admits silk is expensive, hard to test. Nia teases that Artorius once tested with his own shirt and regretted the draft for a week. Third PG-13 jab delivered. He feigns outrage, fans shirt collar, declares his chest hair a natural scarf. Stories layer of coins melted to bribe forged spirits, of centurions who swear dull blades invite mutiny. of a rumour that Hadrian might inspect every sword along the wall next spring. Artorius grins. Let him swing mine. If it breaks, I'll forge him a crown from the shards. Nia adds that imperial crowns should be softer, easier to bend to sense. Artorius hushes her, half laughing, half worried. Jokes about treason travel faster than heat. Wind thickens, rattles shutter bolts. Candle flames bend low, nearly horizontal, then recover. A sooty curl rises, sketching slow rivers on rafters. You note the motif repeating. Wind meddles, flame resists, balance restored. Hollow comfort. Artorius attaches blade to wooden handle. Ash polished, wrapped with rawhide. He slides it into a basic scabbard. The sword, reborn, looks unassuming. Only under lantern does its edge glint a whisper of menace. He tests it on a leather strap. Swish, clean cut, strap halves fall mute. He nods satisfied, though he murmurs something about wanting harder quench water. Legend claims water from a running stream tempers sharper than steel barrels. Though most modern metallurgists scoff, Artorius insists stones remember river songs and lend their strength. Nia begins shaping tiny cloak pins. You watch, entranced. She heats short wires, curls them around a spike, flicks the latch closed with a fingernail. Sparks hop, land on her sleeve. She brushes them off like errant breadcrumbs. You offer to help. She hands you a file, invites you to smooth burrs. Metal sings under file teeth. A faint zing, hypnotic. Candle flickers, wind hushes. You file in slow arcs, each stroke shedding a sliver of brightness. Lunch hour nears. Artorius extinguishes the forge gradually, pulls coals apart, sprinkles vinegar on the hearth. He claims the scent wards jealous spirits. Steam rises, sharp as pickled apples. He wipes hands on leather apron, smears soot into abstract constellations across forearms. You've seen sky charts with fewer stars. Nia sets finished cloak pins on a cloth. She selects one, gifts it to you. Its head is shaped like a wolf, mouth open in silent howl. She taps the eyes, 2 punch dimples, explaining wolves guard travellers in local folklore, though Romans prefer eagles. She shrugs. Wolves know the road better. You pin it to your cloak, smile. Warm metal rests near collarbone. You feel its modest weight, like a promise. Artorius ties bundles of nails with twine. He studies your crooked specimen, tucks it into his personal pouch. Seeing your surprise, he grins. A reminder, even imperfect things hold roofs together. He pats pouch with exaggerated care. 3rd PG-13 quip. Next time lightning strikes, I'll blame your nail for attracting Jupiter's attention to my trousers. Laughter rings, echoing along trusses. Sudden hush. A raven alights on the open lintel, black feathers slick with drizzle. It caws once, tilts head, eyes gleaming coin bright. Artorius mutters an oath. Ravens foretell change. Nia offers a scrap of bread crust. The bird snatches it, launches, vanishes into grey sky. Wind follows, slipping after its wings, rattling lantern chain. Clang, clang, then settling. Candle flares tall, then gentles. You step outside to breathe cooler air. Rain has paused, puddles mirror, broken sky. Forge smoke trails upward, thin blending with clouds like ink diluted in water. Horses in the stable stamp, their breath white ghosts. Somewhere distant, the baker's laughter breezes by. Coriander and crust memory ride with it. Past the gate, soldiers drill, shields thumping in unison. The metallic cadence echoes your earlier hammer blows. Rhythm persists. You wander toward a water trough, rinse soot from fingertips. Coolness rockets up arms, shocking, clean. Soot swirls away, black ribbons twisting into clear. You study your reflection, face smudged, eyes bright, hair flecked with ash. You look strangely like a half-forged thing yourself, soft edges firming under gentle fire. Return to the forge doorway. Artorius stacks tongs, sweeps embers, organizes chisels by size. Nia oils hinge pins, humming a Brythonic tune. Candle wax now pools thick, edge of desk nearly flooded. Wind purely curious pokes once, slides across molten wax, leaves a ripple. The flame dips, steadies. Artorius uncovers a small wooden box, nailed closed, with tiny, precise brads. He pries lid, reveals parchment strips dipped in resin. These, he confides, are binding scrolls, orders from the fort, sealed to survive weather, delivered by riders. He forges the brads himself, steel slender as pine needles, yet strong enough to pierce oak. He asks if you wish to try brad making tomorrow. You nod, intrigued by so humble a cornerstone of empire. The smith retrieves a clay vial labeled lamp black. He dips a finger, smudges a line across the new blade, then wipes it off. A ritual, he says, marking the sword so it remembers shadow as well as light. Otherwise, steel grows arrogant and seeks heroes too eagerly. You ask if that superstition holds true. He shrugs, says better safe than memorialized in someone else's saga. Afternoon hush settles. A mild drizzle begins again. The smell of wet ash mingles with doused coals, earthy and sour. You shiver, forge heat fading quickly. Nia hands you a strip of leather to polish the wolf pin. You buff, grainy scent of tanned hide filling nose. Pin gleams, winks candlelight, small but fierce. Clouds part slightly. A shaft of pale sun slides across the forge floor, striking a pile of slag. The metallic shards sparkle, unexpected jewels. Nia collects a handful for future low-grade nails. Says nothing is wasted in a frontier forge, except perhaps patience, when centurions demand miracles overnight. She gestures at slag's rainbow hues, copper, green, azure, trace minerals trapped in iron. Beauty surviving violence. Artorius announces shift end. He pours water over remaining coals, steam rising with a hiss reminiscent of geese displeased. He removes his apron, stretches, vertebrae cracking like tight leather. Night wind breezes in one last time, as though inspecting his work. Candle flames flicker farewell, wax overflows, drips to floor, cooling mid-fall into pale stalagmites. You follow them outside. Wind combs your cloak, tugs stray hair, then retreats over the wall. Artorius locks the forge door, iron bolt screaming protest, day's final clang. He claps your shoulder, leaving soot fingerprint. Good first lesson, he says. Come back tomorrow. We'll teach you to temper that crooked nail's cousins. Nia winks, waves, scampers toward mess hall, craving sweet fig buns you know are cooling by now. Alone a moment, you inhale forge ghosts. Iron, coal, sweat, beer. You exhale into drizzle. Breath drifts, merges with rising steam from wet flagstones. Candlelight glimmers behind shutter slats. Steady, small, enough. Motif complete. Wind hums soft, almost purring, as it rains in rain, easing it to a whisper. Your pulse copies that hush, shoulders drop. The smith's rhythm lingers in muscles. Clang, pause, clang, now slowed to heartbeats. You step back into tavern corridor. Heat from kitchen cradles cheeks. Bread scent still clings. You unpin cloak, brush soot onto mat. Lantern by door welcomes you. Flame half mask, content. You touch wolf pin once. Feel its promise steady, against collarbone. A cool draft finds you, but the wolf's metal warmth answers. Upstairs, straw mattress awaits. You climb, legs heavy but calm. Each step creaks. A soft echo of hammer strikes. Enter room. Candle by the washstand blinks awake, as though surprised you returned whole. Night wind lifts curtain hem, offers one last breath of forge smoke to lullaby your dreams. You sit, unlacing boots. Beneath the leather, feet smell of sweat, coal, and faint yeast. Life's trinity, perhaps. You smile, swing legs onto bed. Straw shifts, welcomes, scratches kindly. Candlelight paints sword-like slices across ceiling. Wind draws them longer, slower. You watch until lines blur. A thought drifts, imperfect nail, perfect sword, wolf pin, recycled slag. Everything here in flux, forged, reforged, even you. Sleep approaches on quiet iron steps. Candle flame softens to smallest ember. Night wind exhales once more, lighter than a sigh. Hush. A single note slips beneath your door, thin, shimmering, like moonlight melted into sound. You lift your head, still half drowsing on straw, and there it is again, ting, followed by a gentle answer, lower, warmer, almost a sigh. Someone tunes a lyre out in the passage, string by string, each vibration searching for its twin inside your chest. Candle flame perks, as if curious, tilts its small face toward the gap beneath the sill. Night wind, never one to miss gossip, noses in beside it, carrying a faint breath of pine resin and wet wool. You swing your legs over the cot, draw the blanket close and listen. The inn is hushed. Dawn has not yet painted the beams. Your feet find the floor, cool, faintly gritty, with yesterday's ash. You rise without hurry, woolen hem brushing knees, heartbeat pattering soft accompaniment. Another chord flutters, now full, now certain, then settles into a slow cascade, notes dropping like water beads from an eave. You open the door. The corridor is dim, walls washed in grey that waits for sun. At the far end, where two shuttered windows cross paths, a figure sits on a low stool, a travelling harpist. Though here the Romans call her Kitharista. Her cloak, river blue, puddles round her ankles. Her lyre, carved of ash wood and antler, glows amber in lantern light. She plucks, pauses, tightens a peg with deft thumb and forefinger, plucks again, the patient dance of finding pitch. You approach on silent soles. The floor creaks once, politely. She glances up, chin dipping in greeting. No words needed. Music resumes. Take a slow breath. Warm tallow, old cedar, distant forge. Smoke cling to the air, but threaded through is something brighter. Fresh beeswax, rubbed along the lyre's soundboard, scenting each string with summer. You lean against the wall, feel its cold lime calling warmth from your shoulder. Wind creeps through window cracks, stroking back a lock of your hair before darting off to ripple the lantern flame. Shadows swim, but softly, as though lulled by the melody. A gentle arpeggio rises, then turns inward, pooling. The harpist hums under her breath, a tune from the Greek colonies, if you judge by its lilt. Historians still argue whether musicians on Rome's northern frontier favoured Hellenic modes or adapted local Brythonic scales. Parchment scraps give hints, but the wind tonight prefers mystery. She modulates, slipping into a minor key. The corridor feels longer, deeper, candle light, stretching like silk, pulled through a ring. She taps her foot, bare, you notice, and the rhythm steadies. Heartbeat, hoofbeat, rainbeat, all entwined. Fingers dance, 5 to a hand, each string greeting skin with a kiss, releasing slow honey. You watch her left thumb pause on a lower course, then flick, bun, a gentle bass that thrums your bones. On the next measure, she lifts the lyre, rests its curved arm against shoulder, and lets the resonance seep into collarbone, spine, air. The wall behind you absorbs the hum, then surrenders it back, softened. A door clicks farther down. Old Decanus Rufus peeks out, hair like white straw. He listens, smiles, retreats. You glimpse him pad away, muttering he hasn't heard chords that pretty since the siege of Nicomedia, though memory might embellish volume and key. Another door squeals. 2 legionaries stick heads out, grin. One whispers to the other something about strings finer than their bow chords. The other jokes that if music gets any sweeter, his trousers will march south without him. First PG-13 jest of the morning. Door shuts, muffled laughter trails. The harpist's melody shifts to 6/8, lilting as a river crossing stones. She nods toward you, eyebrows asking, join the current? You step closer, kneel. She eases the lyre forward. Second string needs company, she whispers, voice low, edged with the Adriatic. You reach, hesitant. She guides index finger to a mid-pitch course. Here, feel the grain. The wood is warm from her touch, faint vibrations tingling fingertips. She plucks an adjacent string. You feel its neighbor shiver in sympathy. You smile, fascinated. She gestures, your turn. You draw nail over gut string, ting, not clean, but true enough. She nods, adds a descending figure round your note, like ivy circling oak. You try again, smoother. The lyre purrs. A tiny thrill skates wrist to elbow. She fills spaces with delicate harmonics, each one a glint in lantern hush. From the taproom below drifts the scent of cinnamon porridge. Hostess Mira must be stirring breakfast. The smell curls up stairwell, mingling with beeswax and cedar, weaving sweet comfort. Your stomach rumbles quietly. The harpist smiles without breaking tempo and adds a cheeky flourish. Second PG-13 moment. Music teasing appetite before the body is decent enough for table. Outside, rain resumes, soft, patient. Droplets patter shutters, syncopating against 6/8. Night wind slips in cooler now, brushing ankles, raising goose flesh. Candle flame bows again, faithful dancer. The corridor becomes a chamber, strings its vaulted ceiling, music spider silk connecting door to beam to heart. She pauses mid-phrase, head cocked, listening inward. Needs grounding, she murmurs. She reaches into a pouch, pulls a small bronze plectrum shaped like a dolphin. Hadrian's favourite motif, rumour claims. Unknown detail. Some plectra found at Vindolanda bear tiny notches, scholars guessing they doubled as dice in idle hours. A gambler's multi-tool. She uses the smooth side, striking lower strings. Tone grows rounder, belly deep. You close eyes, taste iron-laced rain in the air, feel vibration in soles. A historical whisper surfaces. On 13 September, AD 128, Emperor Hadrian himself visited the northern frontier, and according to one muster tablet, requested a midnight Carmen from camp musicians. They performed beneath sputtering torches, breath-turning songs to visible mist. Some swear he wept, others insist he nodded off. Truth, like wind, drifts. The harpist begins a new piece, slower, in Dorian mode. Each interval rises 2 steps, falls 1, yearning forward, never reckless. Notes hover, linger, settle on skin. You sense the room breathing with you. Candle takes air, flame rises, string vibrates, air returns. Equilibrium. The wind, uncharacteristically polite, hushes to a whisper. Laughter below. Marcellus, the auxiliary, brags that he can sing this tune backward. Mira retorts he'd better sing it sober first. Third PG-13 quip, accomplished. Harpist smirks, her rhythm flutters like a wink. She leans closer, voice barely above string hum. Hear the wolf? You listen. Faint beyond wall, a timber wolf answers dawn, single, mournful note. It fades, but she twines it into her melody, low open string bending beneath nimble finger. The corridor chills, candle dims, then rebounds with stubborn glow. Motif holds, flame, wind, music, hush. You notice her left wrist bears a tattoo, a stylized lyre entwined with laurel. Lines fine, faded. She catches your gaze, explains softly. Gift from a poet in Massilia. Said music carries words when lips tire. She shrugs, plucks high harmonic, tiny bell. A door near stairs cracks open. Sleepy merchant peers, eyes wide, lulled, then drifts off again, door ajar. Music seeps through gap, descends stairwell, curls round benches like low fog. Minutes stretch, rain lightens, and stops, leaving only drip rhythm. Harpist slows, final cadence resolving to perfect fifth. Strings hush, silence blooms large, warm. You exhale, candle stands tall, unflinching. Night wind sighs a satisfied farewell, slipping away to comb treetops. She lowers lyre to lap, flexes fingers. Strings crave breakfast too, she jokes, rubbing knuckles. You thank her. She inclines head, says she plays again tonight, after the last patrol returns, if weather spares strings. She places plectrum in pouch, rises. Her knees creak. You offer arm, she accepts. Together you step toward stair. Candle flickers behind, corridor dimming. Before descending, she pauses at window slit, peels shutter a finger's width. Dawn blush spills over Hadrian's wall, stones glistening. There, she whispers, the real stage. You look, grey blocks, green lichen, fog curling along vallum. The wind reappears, quick kiss on cheek, and slips out to roam ramparts. Somewhere, a soldier changes guard. Bronze harness clinks in morning hush. She tugs shutter closed, smiles. Come, warm bowl, warm cords. You follow her down. Steps creak, familiar chorus. Taproom wakes, bread crusts crack. Porridge burbles, mugs clink. Mira greets harpist with hug. Scolds you both for skipping hand wash. Hands smell of beeswax and ash. Pleasant. You rinse in basin, cold water shocking. Then warm towel soft. Sensory trio renewed. Taste of barley steam, sight of ember glow, touch of towel linen. At table, harpist rests lyre upright. Hostess pours posca, steam fogs rim. Harpist toasts to strings that mend walls better than mortar. You sip, tang zings tongue, warmth spreads chest. Conversation drifts, rations late, sheep strayed. Rumours Britannia's governor will host games come midsummer. Someone asks harpist if she will play for governor. She shrugs. If strings survive goose pecks first, side-eyeing tavern goose, preening by hearth. A thin scroll circulates, quartermaster's notice. Smithy nails, baker grain, musician, required for tomorrow's feast of Fortuna Redux. Harpist signs, sealing with wax, imprint, dolphin plectrum mark. She passes scroll, wax scent briefly overcomes porridge. You watch droplets solidify, history cooling. Breakfast ends, patrons disperse. Some to wall, some to stalls. One to stable for private talk with farrier, red-cheeked, so perhaps more than talk. Harpist wipes strings with linen, tucks lyre in oilcloth, heads for guest wing to rest. You linger near hearth, mind still echoing chords. Candle atop mantle droops, wax river freezes mid-flow, time sculpture. A page boy delivers news, a supply caravan from Coria, delayed by flooded ford. Musicians asked to soothe restless troops at sunset. Harpist nods. You volunteer as page turner, though no pages, or voice for counting beats. She smiles, accepts help with spare gut strings tonight. You step outside for air. Damp earth smells of iron and pollen. Sky brightens. Pale sun edges clouds. Swallows zigzag, stitching morning. You fancy each wing beat a pluck on sky's harp. Forge bellows exhale afar. Blacksmith's laugh rumbles. Baker's peel cracks crust. All sounds layer, subtle music, where lyre left pause. Returning to corridor, you note candle nearly spent. Wick leans, halo shrinking. You pinch flame, plume of smoke twisting upward. Night wind's last cargo. In tip of plume, you imagine faint, cord still ringing. Take breath, feel hush, hear drip, smell wax, touch grain, blink, and the corridor stands silent, yet your ribs keep humming. You drift downstairs while dawn dawdles behind the eaves, bringing only a thin pewter glow. The tap room is still half asleep, chairs tilted like dreaming soldiers, mugs overturned like turtles on a beach. Yet an ember glints in the hearth, one red eye alert, and the scent of damp wool crowds the air, earthy, sheep-sweet, a memory of fields far south of the wall. Step closer, wrap your cloak tighter. The tavern's single long bench wears a heap of cloaks the colour of rain clouds, every fold slick with last night's drizzle. Hostess Mira kneels beside the hearth, coaxing charcoal to a hush-bright blue. She tugs one sodden cloak from the heap, spreads it across an iron frame, and the room sighs as wet lanolin meets warming ash, soft, animal, comforting. A candle on the mantel bows toward the draught, as if blessing this small resurrection. "Help me hang these, love," Mira murmurs, voice still husky with sleep. You obey, lifting a legionary's cloak, heavy, fragrant with lanolin and faint horse dander. The cloth glues to your palms, cold but promising. You sling it over a crossbar, beads of water fall, sizzling on embers. Steam rises, curls into the candle flame, which quivers, regains composure, continues its slow incantation. Another cloak, and another, greens dyed with woad, browns the shade of peat, one extravagant purple strip belonging to a tribune who insists colour inspires discipline. Third cup of wine, and he'll admit it inspires envy. You work in tandem with Mira. Lift, drape, pat, and step back. A forest of cloaks surrounds the hearth now, smelling of wet wool, sour sweat, crushed bracken, then slowly of cedar smoke and dawn. Mira stretches, pops a shoulder, mutters that if the Roman army wore shorter cloaks, her back would hurt half as much. First, PG-13 quip. She swears a legionary once suggested a crop-top sagum to cut laundry, but only because he fancied showing off abdominal mosaics. You laugh, almost spill a droplet of wax from the candle you've been steadying. The wind noses through the door latch, delivers a gust of icy air. Candle flame leans away, bow, sway, recover. The cloaks billow, exhaling steam. A thin hiss fills the room, like snakes gossiping. Mira chases the draft. Shoe wind, you hooligan. Wind ignores her, strokes your ankle instead, cool and mischievous, then recedes outside to rattle shutters somewhere else. A legion cook bursts in, balancing a cauldron of barley porridge. He freezes, lips twitching. Looks like a flock of headless sheep, doesn't it? He sets the pot to simmer by the embers. Winks second PG-13 joke. Trust me, they smell better than headless soldiers. Mira smacks his arm with a wooden spoon. Barley sloshes, lands on his boot. He shrugs. The boot has known worse. You fetch a bucket, ladle warm water over the cloak's lower edges. A trick Mira teaches. Moisture rises, carries lanolin up, softens fibres, drops sizzle, steam thickens, flavoring the air with something like toasted oats and pine pitch. Your lungs fill, shoulders loosen. I wonder, do you sense how softness spreads, stitch by stitch? Mira unrolls a reed mat, invites you to kneel. She teaches the cross rub, palms flat, sweeping along the weft to coax trapped rain out. Heat seeps through cloth into skin, pleasant, almost intimate. One cloak bears a stitched label, COH 4 Gaul. She grins, says cohort 4 Gaulish, always leaves cloaks in lumped puddles, like drovers, not soldiers. She tells of a Gaulish centurion, fined 2 denarii in AD 127 for mildew on kit. Tablet found at Vindolanda records his grumpy protest about uncooperative weather gods. Historians still argue whether the fine was standard or spite, because copies list different amounts. One a single denarius, another 5. Numbers fade, anecdote lingers. While Mira and you tend wool, voices murmur outside, changing watch. Boots crunch frost, orders barked low. One cloak quivers, its owner must be near. Wind thrusts again, candle bows deeper, its wax collar liquefying. Motif echoes, flame bends, wind whispers, warmth pushes back. Mira rises, fetches a crock of sheep tallow scented with rosemary. She scoops a thumbful, smears it along a seam, working it in with decisive circles. The scent blooms, herbaceous, oily, strangely pleasant. Keeps the drizzle out, fleas off, and men convinced they smell like heroic mountain rams, she declares. Third PG-13 fun, though some rams are less fragrant than others after 3 days' march. You follow suit, fingers greased, massaging tallow into stubborn fibers. Touch teaches history, rough spun warp, careful overstitch, repair patch shaped like a clumsy star. You imagine the cloak's journeys, raids, rains, rogue geese, and see why fibers cling to smoke like memories. Wind hushes for a blink, candle stands tall, flame steady, steam thins, cloaks darken from wet black to soft grey-green. Mira nods. Halfway there, time for stories. She sits on a stool, pats one for you. The hearth embers sigh, shifting. The cloaks dangle like quiet spectators. She begins, "Did you hear of the Great Sock Mutiny? Winter of 131 AD, garrison at Birmingham refused parade until fresh socks arrived. Governor Publius loaned his own, then sent urgent dispatch to York. They say he wrote, 'An army marches on its heels.'" You giggle. She continues, "Or the night the wall's beacon went out because bats chewed the wick." She gestures at candle. "Bless him. Always tuck wicks tight." Another ember pops. Sharp, polite applause. A spark flutters onto a cloak corner. You dart, smack it away. Cloth smoulders, but stops. The smell of singed wool wafts. Sharp, cautionary. "Mira, thanks you," says a single spark, once cost her 2 cloaks, and nearly her eyebrows. She displays a faint scar at the hairline. A courier enters, shakes rain from mantle. He eyes the cloak forest, groans. "Mine in there?" Mira points. He tries to retrieve it. Steam and tallow coat his fingers. He frowns, then shrugs, better greasy than freezing. He leaves, trailing smell of rosemary fat and urgency. You notice candle waning, wax pooling wide, drip, drip. You swap it for a fresh taper. Flame leaps, brighter. Wind returns, caresses new flame like old friend. Shadows sway across cloaks, dusky waves. Breakfast bowls appear on a tray, porridge topped with fig conserve. Mira insists you eat. Spoon lifts, taste, nutty warmth, sweet tang, hint of smoke. Cloaks and candle join the feast, steam mingling, wax perfuming barley, an orchestra of comfort. Cook re-enters, announces barley shortage if caravan from Coria, delays another day. Mira shrugs, says she'll thin porridge with goat milk. The goat thin with pasture tails. Everyone will survive. Cook groans. You propose trading surplus nails from smithy for grain. Mira laughs. Imagine bread tasting of iron ambition. A small cat slinks in, tail brushing cloaks, collecting scent of 100 journeys. It lands in your lap, kneads thigh like dough. Purr vibrates through cloak steam. Sound blends with crackling ember, low lullaby. You stroke fur, fingertips still greasy. Kitty now smells faintly of rosemary. PG-13 joke risk. You whisper, herbal cat, next frontier in Roman medicine. Mira snorts tea through nose. Candlelight thickens. Outside, light brightens. The wind retreats to taller roofs. Cloaks almost dry. Fibers soft. Steam sparse. Mira lifts one, shakes. It floats, lighter. Smells of mountain pasture warmed by hearth. She folds it, demonstrates rolling technique to keep rain out of collar. You mimic. Soon cloaks stack tidy. Last cloak, purple tribunes, still damp at hem. Mira drapes it nearest flame, warns that dye runs if scorched. You note dye detail, Tyrian purple rare, but frontier officers cheat with madder and lake pigments. Hue fades to plum after rain, little known fact. The tribune himself strides in, armor jingling like distant chimes. He sniffs, lifts brow. Smells like a shepherd's festival. Mira curtsies, retorts, better than a legionary's laundry. He chuckles, then PG-13 tease. Laundry? I thought those goats were natural air fresheners. Mira waves him off, promises cloak by midday. He notices your hands greasy, nods approval. Good citizen. He exits, humming off-key. Mira rolls eyes. Wind sneaks in behind him. Twirls candle flame. Bow, dip, bow. You inhale, exhale, weight lifts. A thump upstairs. Harpist awakes. Strings twang in greeting. Smith's hammer answers from yard. Baker's peel cracks a crust. The settlement stirs. Cloak's nearly silent now. Just a faint crackle as fibers finish drying. You and Mira share last spoonful of porridge directly from pot. Naughty breakfast. Third PG-13. Don't tell the quartermaster. He might tax each bite. You help carry folded stacks to pegs along wall. Each cloak rehung, ready. You brush hands, tallow sheen catching candle glow. Mira smiles gratitude. She fishes from apron 2 beeswax pastilles shaped like tiny amphorae. Payment. You tuck them away, their scent a promise of future candles. Wind slips through once more, brief salute. Candle flame straightens, stands guard. Cloak forest gone, hearth reveals embers, glowing steady, warm. Mira nods toward tavern door, day calls. You step outside. Air cold, but inside chest, warmth lingers. Wool, smoke, rosemary, candlelight, winds hush. And for a heartbeat, you feel as though wrapped in a great invisible cloak. Soft, rainproof, smelling of old sheep and new dawn. You pull it tighter, step onto the frosted path, ready for whatever hours may weave. You pause at the threshold, fingers still slick with lanolin, when a ribbon of amber light curls from the kitchen. It beckons, warm, patient, smelling faintly of clover and something darker, burnt sweet, like sugar caught in a sigh. Step inside, let the door nudge shut. Wind flicks your heel, candle flame, courtesy bows, then straightens, willing to share its gold with you for just a little while. On the long trestle sits a single wooden cup, wide-lipped, still steaming from its rinse. Above it, hostess Mira tilts a clay jar. From the jar's mouth slips a single bead of honey. Thick, viscous, slow as prophecy, it falls, stretches, and lands with a muted plop. Ripples thread the surface, draw tiny circles that fade almost before you can count them. Yet scent blooms at once, sun-warmed hay, wild thyme, distant orchard, and your pulse lifts as though bees hum just behind your ribs. Mira smiles, wipes jar rim. Gift from Coriosupitum, she murmurs. They say the hive feeds on gorse and ghost stories. She hands you the cup. Wood nestles palm, porous, alive. Warmth seeps, sticky rim brushes thumb. You lift, sip, sweetness rolls tongue tip, settles like velvet on molars. A second sip, slower. Taste deepens, hint of smoke, whisper of bitter propolis, complex as frontier sky at dusk. Candle winks twice, learning the cadence of your breath. Night wind tries the latch, fails, retreats to gossip with rafters. You and honey share quiet. Across the hearth, Marcellus the auxiliary sprawls on bench, boots steaming by embers. He lifts brow, watches honey coil. Golden sin in a cup, he drawls. Careful, too much, and you'll wake wanting to lick the shield instead of polish it. First PG-13 tease. Mira tosses a crust at him. Crust bounces off Grieve, lands in Cat's bowl. Cat regards all parties with aristocratic disdain, then devours tribute. Purring like a distant burr mill, you savor again. Each swallow leaves behind a filament, invisible, binding memory to taste. Sound joins, tick, a bead of wax drops, small heartbeat. Clink, iron hook shifts above hearth, settling pot for evening broth. Drip, another honey tear slides, eager to follow its sibling into calm. Mira fetches stacks of flat oatcakes. Steam drifts. She cleaves one, spreads a crescent of honey across crumb. For strength, she says, eyes bright. Legion docket claims a spoon before March keeps cough away. Might be true, might be superstition. You bite, oat crunches, honey floods, crumb melts, tongue sings. Historians still argue whether Roman surgeons truly prescribed honey poultices for every wound from sword to lovesick heart, or if apothecaries inflated the ledger. Either way, jars empty fast on the wall. Outside, horn notes stagger, first watch relieved. Boots shuffle gravel. Torchlight flickers through shutters. Stripes floor with bars of amber and soot. Flame on mantle mirrors the rhythm, swaying, left, right, returning center. Wind finds a chink, exhales, candle bends, glows brighter for the effort. You drink glow as you drink honey, slow. Mira seats herself, elbows on table, eyes distant. My father kept bees near Capua, she whispers. Summer smelled of wax and figs. He said a hive is an empire in miniature. Every citizen, born knowing their duty. She chuckles, taps jar. If only our empire remembered that. Marcellus grins. I remember my duty every payday. He wiggles purse, coins jingle. 10 denarii, already pledged to dice and questionable literature. Second PG-13. Mira rolls eyes, knocks his purse with ladle. Coin jangle scatters like startled crickets. Rain resumes softer than before, a blanket rather than drum. Roof thatch sighs. Candle replies with elongated ellipsis of light. You feel eyelids echo that lengthening, half close. A new figure enters. Severina, the apiarist. Sleeves still peppered with straw. She carries wicker pannier, buzzing faintly, smuggled bee warmth. She bows, sets pannier near hearth. Steam from cloaks mingles with the bees' exhaled hum. Room vibrates, low and mellow. She offers parchment-wrapped comb, deep gold. Mira slices shards onto wooden plate. You watch honey ooze along knife, thick as molten bronze. Severina explains the comb comes from a skep painted vermilion. Soldiers believe red hives breed braver bees. Third PG-13. Or perhaps they just like their honey spiced with drama, like their love letters. She grins. Martellus feigns swoon. Severina produces a beeswax tablet. Grooves fresh. Caravan tally, she says. 53 jars inbound, if the Ford cooperates. She warms stylus near candle, traces numbers soft. Wax smells of meadow again, crisp, green, unrolled across your nose. Candle wink, stylus scrape, raindrop hush, a trio, gentle percussion. You break comb shard between fingers. Honey hugs skin, sticky, bring to lips, chew. Wax resists, releases, clings teeth. You savor, swallow. Fingers remain amber-kissed. You lick, warmth, salt, sweet. Touch sense loops with taste. Mira pours diluted wine for Severina. Posca for Martellus. Sets your cup fresh. Honey dissolves white ribbons in liquid. Rainbows under flame. You stir with twig. Watch vortex glint. Sip. Acidity meets sweet. Balance. Gentle. Outside, a wagon crunches into yard. Wheels coughing mud. Voices curse wagon ruts. Donkey brays. Injustice. Mira opens door. Wind leaps in. Candle bows. Deeper. Nearly extinguished. But clings. You guard flame with palm. Heat licks knuckles. Does not burn. Wind swirls, samples honey in air. Decides to stay. Cools your cheek. Cloaks flutter on pegs like curtained dreams. 2 drivers lug amphora inside. Stoppers sticky with resin and honey crust. Severina inspects, nods satisfied. Drivers claim passage. Through flooded ford cost them a wheel and 3 swear words yet unknown in Latin. Mira pays with bread, cheese, wink. They exit lighter. You and Mira haul amphorae to pantry. Dark room, cool, smelling of dust and stored promise. Candle follows, small sun. You set jar on shelf. Wood groans. Nearby sits wax-sealed tablet, dated calends of November, AD 129, acknowledging last honey tithe. Ink faded, wax intact. Evidence Rome loves record-keeping almost as much as conquest. When you return, Severina unwraps tiny beeswax figurines. Charms shaped like hands. She sells them to soldiers for luck against sword blisters. She hands you one. It smells of forest after rain. You slip it into pouch, grateful. Mira pours hot watered wine. Steam wreathes her face. She raises cup. To sweet calm. You echo. Sip. Heat slides throat. Anchors belly. Honey aftertaste. Clings. Comforting. Steady. Marcellus grows sentimental under fumes. He claims honey is nature's apology for stings, just as kisses are apologies for harsh words. 4th PG-13 creeps out. Severina flicks his ear with comb splinter. Laughter ripples, gentle, forgiving. Candle now half height. Wax pool mirrors flame. A twin sun trapped in shallow sea. Night wind slows, content. Rain thins to drizzle, then to memory. Outside, hooves splash once, fade. In settles. Mira divides last comb piece. Shares. You chew slowly. Wax squeaks under teeth. Somewhere in comb, a fragment of summer remains. Echo of bee dance over purple vipers. Bugloss, long gone. You swallow. Feel chest warm like hive. Severina gathers pannier. Bids goodnight. She carries bees to loft, where temperature suits wings. Before leaving, she sets small jar, gift, for you. Label etched with stylized bee, wings spread wide. She whispers, true courage is small and many-winged. Candle catches her wink, sets it ablaze. You cradle jar, glass cool, contents glowing. Turn it once, watch bubble climb, like slow planet. You place jar by windowsill, moonshine brushes lid, halo white on gold. Mira douses hearth with handful of damp moss. Smoke curls bright, then sighs, embers hush. She kisses your cheek, whispering, sleep, honey heart. She disappears upstairs, footsteps soft as petals. You gather cloak from peg. It smells of rosemary fat and faint honey. Wrap tight, step towards stair. Candle leads, gentle sentinel. Wind trails, Lighter now, a kitten breeze. In room, you set candle on stool. Flame regards jar of honey, as if greeting kin separated by form. You sit on cot, cloak round knees, listen. Silence thick as comb, but pulsing. Heart candle, distant hive in loft, all beat in one slow rhythm. You hold wax charm, thumb its tiny palm. Warmth from finger melts surface faintly. Scent rises, honey, hay, wax. You tuck charm beneath pillow. Straw rustles grateful. Candle elongates, stretching shadows like lazy cats across wall. Wind strokes shutter, lullaby soft. Hush, hush, hush. Your breath copies pattern, slower, deeper. Honey on tongue, lingers, sweet anchor, pulling eyelids toward dream. One last image forms behind eyes, a bee, wings shimmering, hovering above candle flame, yet unburnt, gathering light instead of nectar. It turns, hums and drifts into sleep's orchard. You follow, wrapped in wool, in wax, in warmth, drifting, drifting. Take your time, we're not in a hurry. A hush lingers after the last honey-kissed swallow, yet outside the tavern a low rustle begins. Voices weaving Latin into the grey air, casual threads of duty and gossip drifting past the shutters. You pause on the landing, candle in hand. The flame tilts, eager, as if it too understands that language is a kind of weather. The wool cloak around your shoulders still smells faintly of rosemary tallow and warm comb. Beneath the scent, your heartbeat answers the murmurs below with its own measured drum. Step down a stair, each plank releases a sigh, giving your footfall to the dawn. The latch slips beneath your fingers, cool, worn. You ease the door a finger's width. Night wind, now almost morning wind, slides inside, cool on eyelids, polite on knuckles, carrying damp moss, distant horse sweat, and that unmistakable note of fresh, sharpened iron. A candle held in your other hand bows, recovers. Flame and wind, still the oldest dance in the world. Outside, the inn's yard opens like a small theatre, caught between stone wall and rolling fog. On the left, the blacksmith's anvil sits cold, ghostly. On the right, the goose stands guard, proud, unrepentant. In the middle, 4 auxilia huddle over a dice cup, Latin leaking in hushed syllables, tertius, sextus, inflix. Their breath rises in soft plumes, dissolving into the pale. You taste the chill, metal on tongue, peppered by last night's embers, dying in the brazier near the door. Move closer, cloak brushes puddles, water, eager, leaps and darkens the hem, but the lanolin turns droplets aside. You settle against the tavern wall, candle steady between palm and wind. Flames cast long, shy shadows of the soldiers on flagstones, elongated helmets, crooked spears resting at their boots. The dice cup, tiny but powerful, a wooden oracle. They shake it once, clack, clack, release. Cubes bounce, land, spin, settle. A quiet groan, a softer cheer. One soldier reaches for a purse, strings rattling. Another crosses himself so hastily you suspect his coins are fewer than prayers. First PG-13, whisper slips from the tallest man. If Fortuna keeps frowning, I'll be forced to wager my dignity, and that's already in short supply. He receives elbow to ribs, laughter muted, so as not to wake the tribune. You grin behind the candle. Wind steals a smile, carries it across the yard, where it catches on a tethered mule's ear. The mule flicks, unimpressed. To your right, 2 clerks from the fort stand over a portable desk, wax tablets gleaming like fresh toffee in dawn light. One recites supply counts, barley, nails, amphorae of honey. The other scratches tallies, stylus squeaking faintly. Historians still argue whether frontier quartermasters inflated numbers to hide losses, or deflated them to pocket difference. Yet the tablets here smell only of beeswax and honest tedium. The clerk looks up, sniffs the air, and mutters playful envy. Even the wind gets a taste of breakfast before I do. The wind answers by ruffling his tablet scrolls, scattering filings of wax like pale confetti. He curses, mildly, mindful of legion etiquette, and pins pages with a stylus stabbed through crumb of old bread. You savour the scene, candlelit chaos restrained by bread anchor. Only on Rome's edge could bureaucracy and bakery form such fragile truce. Beyond them, the gate yawns open. A wagon creaks through, axle complaining. Its wheels sling mud that smells of iron-rich clay and last year's rotted leaves. 2 oxen plod, tails swishing in sleepy unison, breaths pluming like slow engines. Driver mutters to beasts in bastard Latin, laced with Brythonic sing-song. You almost feel each syllable vibrate on your ribs, warm, low. A second PG-13 chuckle blooms when one auxiliary shouts at the oxen, "Walk faster, noble senators," earning a wink from the driver and rolled eyes from the clerks. The oxen, unmoved by politics, keep their stately crawl, hooves sucking free of mud with wet kisses. Candlelight flickers across their slick hides, painting bronze where no bronze exists. Step forward. Underfoot, grit and straw crunch softly. The dice cup rattles again. This time the smallest soldier, barely 18 summers, freckles bright as sparks, wins. He pumps fist, grins, pockets coins, then turns and notices you. His smile softens, becomes shy, salute. You nod, share the candle's glow. Its halo wreathes freckles, brief crown. A squeal draws attention. The goose, seeing victory not its own, declares outrage. Wings flare, torchlight feathers glimmer. It charges the soldiers, neck stretched like living trumpet. Scatter, dice cup flips, coins scatter, curses bloom. You laugh with them, and the wind laughs louder, pushing smoke from a brazier into swirling silver eddies. Goose stops before your candle, peers, decides flame might be edible. You lower light, goose hesitates, honks disappointment, waddles off, court jester, undefeated. A soldier retrieves dice from puddle, shakes water off like pearls. Third PG-13 aside, the eldest auxiliary sighs. That bird's got sharper tax collection methods than Rome. Laughter ripples, soft, so as not to wake the inn. A call rings from the gate, changing guard. 2 new sentries cross threshold. Boots crisp, cloaks dry, spears gleaming. They speak Latin under breath, trading dream fragments. One complains of nightmare, where wall stones turn to bread. The other laughs, promises breakfast soon enough. They swap passwords. Valentia, Invicta. Words float across yard, settle onto your ears like dusk moths. You taste syllables, chalky, official, contrasted by the sweet ghost of honey still lingering on tongue. Now the wind slackens, candle steadies. You feel dawn's pulse quicken. Birds scribble faint chirrups from sycamore by stables. Smell of warm oats drifts from kitchen vent. A mule brays low as cello. The Latin murmurs join these threads, dice numbers, supply counts, guard passwords, until the yard hums like a subtle hive. You stand at its centre, candle midair, and every sound is a wing beat. Mira appears at door, apron dusted with oat flour. She spies scattered coins, clicks tongue. Gamble on full stomachs, not empty purses. She offers oatcakes to soldiers. They accept, cheeks warm. Mira glances at you, slides an extra cake into your palm, whispers, sweet still sticks to you. She means honey, but perhaps also the calm curling behind your eyes. You bite. Oats crunch, faint salt, whisper of clover. Candlelight catches crumbs drifting, turning them to fleeting sparks. Night wind, jealous, scoops crumbs midair, carries them to Goose, who receives manna with imperial smugness. Across courtyard, the quartermaster's assistants finish counts. They seal tablet with dollop of beeswax, press a ring, mark of Legio 6, Victrix. The stamp's edges hiss in dawn's chill. Wax scent, honey, smoke, rises anew, folding into the air you breathe. The clerk pockets tablet, sees you're watching. He nods, weary pride in small certainties. A bell clangs once from fort tower. First prep, it seems to say. Latin murmurs shift tone, less gambling, more business. Dice vanish, spears lifted, cloaks clasped, one young soldier practicing a phrase under breath. Sub umbra pugnabimus. We will fight in the shade. He tries different stresses. You hear nerves hiding behind conjugations. You catch his eye, off a nod. Candle glow reflects in his helmet like sunrise trapped in bronze. The driver of the ox wagon returns, hands a slip of wax to the clerk. Weight check, signed. He trudges towards stables, leading beasts that smell of dung, straw, distant fields. Steam off their backs mingles with your breath. You taste the countryside they cross, mineral, green. Candle gutter, wax pool deepens. One bead spills over thumb, warm, silky. You rub fingers, smearing tiny halo on skin. Scent of tallow and pine tar clings. Wind notices, brushes cheek with approval, then tumbles into alley to chase litter of straw ribbon. Over the wall, first rim of sun appears, pale gold wheel climbing frost. Light kisses spearheads so they wink. Candlelight seems gentle cousin now, yet flame stands unafraid beside this wider dawn. You lift candle slightly, salute the sun. Wax trembles, droplet falls, dotting flagstone, tiny monument of this moment. The murmurs break into crisp commands, Latin, but louder, sharper. Ad ordines. Soldiers file toward gate, boots synchronizing, cloaks snapping. Dice champion pockets last coin, winks at you, marches off. The shy, freckled one slips oat crumb to Goose in secret truce, then jogs to rank. Mirror waves ladle like baton. They grin, vanish through arch. Quartermaster staff follow, arms full of tablets, stylus, twine. The clerk's breath fogs around numbers, already swirling future ledgers. He nods to you again, mouth shapes Gratius. You mouth same. Now only oxen remain, munching hay with earth-shaking serenity. The breeze fluffs their forelocks. Goose patrols perimeter, satisfied with crumb tribute. Blacksmith's hammer still silent, but you sense it stretching like giant yawn. The world shifts from hush to hum. Blow gently on candle, flame leans then writes. You turn back to tavern door, wood warm from morning sun. Mirror holds it open, amber light behind, smell of barley porridge and coriander loaf drifting out. She gestures with chin, breakfast replacement, for oatcake, crumb to bird. You cross threshold. As door shuts, wind curls one last time around ankles, promising return at noon. Candle's halo shrinks in bright room, but remains steady. You set it on table, wax pools, forming new map of little rivers. Listen, footsteps outside fade, Latin now a distant echo on roadstones. Inside, hush thicker, cozier. Hostess pours hot milk over barley. Honey swirl follows. A bee might have drawn its vector in that cup. You spoon, sip, sweetness, salt, heat, calm. Candle flickers once, exhale of relief, settles. You breathe deep. The yard's murmurs still resonate inside chest like low drum, but wrapped now in oat warmth and bee-song memory. Outside, the sun climbs higher, fog lifts, boundary between wall and skishay sharpens. Within you, morning crystallizes into quiet readiness, as though those floating Latin syllables stitched hidden courage into your breath. Take another spoonful, feel steam-kissed lip. Candle's flame wavers, then steadies, whispering, "We're not in a hurry." You find yourself lingering at the tavern's threshold again, cloak still warm from barley steam, when hostess Mira presses a squat bronze lamp into your hands. "Take this," she whispers. The wind's grown restless out by the rampart, and the sentry walk is dark. The lamp is palm-heavy, shaped like a small sleeping bird. Its pierced lid carries a piece of oiled linen for a wick, already lit, already waiting, its flame no larger than a firefly's dream. A hinged cap, little helmet, clacks shut above the glow, shielding it from gusts. Even so, a perfumed thread of oil sneaks through the grill, smelling of sesame and faint citrus. You inhale, warmth pools behind the eyes, step outside. The yard you crossed moments ago now feels altered. Fog retreated, shadows taller, the sun's last sheen staining stones mauve. Wind greets you at once, sharper than before, eager to pry at lamp-lid hinges. The tiny flame tilts, bows, writes itself, its own salute. You tuck lamp against ribs. Your heartbeat drums a steady escort. Boom pause, matching the rhythm of boot heels on wet grit. Head north, toward the stairs that climb to Hadrian's wall. Each breath, tastes of brine riding upriver from Tynemouth's estuary, salt curling with wood smoke, with the faint metallic note of cold spears waiting on racks. The lamp's glow ripples across puddles, turning them to molten brass that winks once, then swallows light. A raven shadows you along parapet, wings cutting dusk. It croaks a single syllable, sounds remarkably like "they," then banks away, clearly uninterested in lamp or duty. You smile, murmur, "Not tonight," prophet, and keep on. Halfway up, mossy stairstones collapse into rough turf, where the garrison's garden once grew. You brush fern fronds, droplets explode cool across knuckles. The lamp replies with a gentle hiss, wick drinking deeper. At the top, the wall unrolls under twilight, broad sandstone blocks, edges worn round by 14 winters of sleet and longing. Sentinels stand every 50 paces, silhouettes inked against the banded sky. Approaching the nearest, you hear soft mutter, Latin drizzled with Hispania's vowels. "Loom?" the sentry asks, light. You offer lamp. He lifts visor, eyes ringed dark. "Gratias." A quick swap. He hands you his guttering torch. You hand him Mira's lamp. Wig under helmet, he hides the glow behind shield lip, nods. "Better than this smoke stick." First PG-13 grin. He adds, "Smells less like goat armpit." You both chuckle. The wind tries to steal it, fails. Torch in your grip feels brutish, compared with lamp's polite glow. Sap-rich pine sputters, spitting sparks that ride the breeze before dying midair. You wave smoke aside and walk on. Torch crackle sinks to footsteps. A few paces farther, you pass a trio crouched over a map, chalked directly on stone. One finger traces a charcoal line, supply track. Another taps X where last raid breached. You pause, let torchlight spill across chalk. Historians still argue whether garrisons kept such ad hoc wall maps or trusted central command parchments. Tonight's evidence glows amber, on stone, real as bread. They thank you, You trade torches, yours dimmed for theirs fresh. Continue. Oil lamp's lid glimmers ahead in sentry's fist, star bead behind lattice. You realize you're following a constellation of tiny walled suns, flame within copper cages, each new post brighter than the last. Rain begins, not a downpour. More needle fine, thread thin, stitching ground to sky. Lamp caps hold fast, torches hiss complaint. You lower flame, shield with cloak, gust veers, smacks cheek raw, retreats with laugh. A second sentry hails you, Gaulish accent thick, requests the little dragon light. You swap again, handing him your fresher lamp. He sniffs lid. Orange oil, he says, surprised. Reminds me of Narbo's festival stalls. He sighs, confesses, oranges here cost half a month's pay. Second PG-13 murmur, but cheaper than a Brythonic kiss in winter. He pockets old torch, winks gratitude, press onward. Wall widens into crenellated platform above a sheer drop where peat bog yawns black. Fog whirls up, swallowing toe stones. Your torchlight rebounds, painting ghosts on vapour. The path narrows, one misstep, mud will embrace you shoulder deep. You slow, torch raised. Then, out of haze, the wall library emerges. A lean-to alcove tucked under turret roof. Its only decoration, a single wax tablet, nailed to beam. Edges blotted with rain, but message intact. Bibliotheca, Lucius, Library of Light. Inside, a dozen tiny lamps line, plank shelf, each one guttering, each a twin to mirrors. This, you realise, is why you were sent. To refurbish the shelf galaxy. A spare oil jug sits ready, stoppers carved of rowan. You steady torch on hook, gently open jug. Earthy sweet, sesame oil again, but deeper, carrying burnt rosemary memory. You lift first, exhausted lamp. Pop lid, pour until amber kisses lip. Reseal. Flame revives, colour richer, shadows dart. Lamp by lamp, you repeat. Between fills you pause to rub fingers. Oil warms skin, seeps into winter cracks. Wind barges through arrow slit, snarls but lids deflect. Flame, wind, hush, motif, spins on. Halfway, you hear footsteps behind. Turning, you see the young, freckled auxiliary from dice game, helmet askew, cheeks puffing cold. Quartermaster sent extra wicks, he explains, brandishing pouch. You welcome help. Together, you trim soot-blackened threads, twist fresh linen, set them aflame. He marvels at each reborn lamp. Feels like feeding stars, he whispers. Third PG-13 joke slips as he nudges an older lamp. This one snores louder than my bunkmate's lower end. You wheeze, wind steals the laugh, sails it over bog. When final lamp steadies, shelf gleams like a miniature Milky Way, warm beads pushing fog back inch by inch. The auxiliary unfolds arms, whispers, "Look." You both watch light ripple across pooled rainwater, shivering like coin tossed into wishing well. Duty nearly done, but one lamp remains. The master signal lantern outside, hinged glass cracked, flame wheezing. You carry jug there. Wind chooses this moment to roar, hurl in ice flecks. Your torch gutters, dies, smoke curling like defeated banner. Only lamp's weak glow guides. You cradle chimney, pour oil, pinch wick. Flame flares, blue core, orange crown, bright enough that even wall-top stones seem to lean closer for warmth. Wind buffets again, yet this time lamp stands unflinching. Glass fogs with heat, beads rolling, racing like tiny comets. Fog parts briefly. Beyond, the silhouettes of Pictish hills glimmer, blue-black ridges under waning crescent. In that hush, you hear an owl somewhere below, calling question into chasm. Lamp answers with steady heartbeat glow. The auxiliary salutes, returns downstairs, Footsteps fading rhythmic, perhaps reciting drill to keep fear at bay. You linger. Sky has parted. A rag of cloud reveals stars, Scorpius curling above, Aries blinking red near horizon. Tiny lamps mimic them, Earth's reflection of sky's grammar. You exhale. The scent of citrus sesame oil mingles with peat smoke, with rosemary fleece, with barley memory. A private incense only this night could compose. Torchless, you rely on lamp's timid yet potent circle to find the stair. Each step downward rings hollow. Wood, stone, heartbeat, echo. Back in yard, mirror waits under lintel, second lamp ready. She peers into your face, lamplight reveals oil specks on cheek like gold freckles. She wipes with thumb, smiles. The wall glows, she states, satisfied. You nod, hand her the empty jug. She tucks it under arm, wide yawn, creasing face. Drink before sleep, she reminds, pressing cup of warm goat milk, sweetened with last sweepings of honey pot. Repairs soul quicker than wine. You sip, milk thick, soft, perfumed with fennel seed. Candle behind her trembles, offering final bow. Wind calmer now, brushes ankles. Goose honks approval from its barrel bed. Inside, tap room slumbers. Only embers pulse. You climb stair, the masted lamp leading. In your chamber, you set it near shutter. Flame projects lattice, shadows over rafters, swaying gently, painting roof as rippling sea of amber. You unclip cloak, fold deliberate. Fingers shiny with sesame oil leave faint prints. Dark half moons on wall. You do not mind. Scent will remind you of stars fed tonight. Lie back. Straw whispers. Mattress exhales. Lamp lid clicks now and then as heat shifts. Through shutter crack, wind whistles soft drone, like distant flute. Flame answers, lean, sway, steady, lean, sway, steady. The pattern lowers eyelids, slows pulses. You consider that historians will one day debate whether these tiny lamps mattered, whether border beacons kept peace, or were just tokens against vast dark. Tonight, you know answer. A lamp is small, but enough to shift fear into curiosity, enough to turn wind noise into lullaby. Candle in hall sputters, last spark dances, dies. Your lamp remains, solitary sun in room's night. You watch until flame blurs to peach smear, then to gentle darkness behind lashes. Take your time, we're not in a hurry. The lid hums faint metallic lull, clink, hush, and you drift, carried on the quiet wings of captive fire, deeper, softer, warmer, until dawn itself must knock twice to wake you. A soft knock, and you wake, though you are not truly sleeping, only drifting just beneath lamplight. The wick whispers where it rests, oxide orange glow folding shadows into kind corners. Outside, the wind clears its throat, as if about to recite midnight's news. Another knock, wood on wood, measured, polite. Then Mira's hushed voice. Shift change, love. The rampart wants fresh ears. Could you walk with them a while? You roll from straw mattress, cloak already warm from your body, smelling faintly of sesame oil and ghosted citrus. The bronze lamp from earlier still burns by the shutter, flame trimmed small, a watchful cat eye. You lift it, greet its weight, and open the door. Wind nips, tasting lamplight, retreating, satisfied. The corridor is dim. A single candle, halfway along, leans left, then right, then left, listening for footsteps. Downstairs, shields clink in muted symposium. 6 soldiers stand in a crooked semicircle. The off-going watch, faces drawn thin with hours of wind, and the oncoming watch, blinking away, Hearth smoke dreams. One stretches, armor creaking like a tree at thaw. Mira hands them wooden cups of barley broth, steam swirling up to meet rafters dark as forgotten sails. You linger at the threshold, no one rushes here. The wind does that for everyone. Hostess motions with ladle. You cross, benchwood groans under borrowed weight. Cup warms palms, broth thick with cumin. Sip once, graying kisses, tongue slow, heat marching down throat, claiming chill-clad rooms inside your chest. Around you, cloaks rustle, buckles click, belts tighten. The orchestra of preparedness played sotto voce. A lantern on a hook near the door swings lazily, flame drumming 4 beats for every sway. You notice a tiny fissure in its glass, spider-webbed yet holding. Historians still argue whether these frontier lanterns were imported from Rome or blown by a glassmaker in Coria. Fragments suggest both stories, and the wind enjoys keeping the debate unsettled. From the coals, a log splits with a sharp pop. Sparks jump like startled constellations. One lands on a soldier's sleeve. He curses softly, batting it away. First PG-13 mutter escapes the youngest, freckles lost beneath helmet shadow. Hotter than a centurion's backside after chili stew. Laughter ripples, quickly strangled by duty. Cup drained, you rise. Cloak folds around shoulders, heavy yet yielding, a hug made of sheep and smoke. You lift the bronze lamp higher, its lid jingles, a tiny symbol. Ready? Asks Decanus Rufus, commander of this shift, eyebrows frosting white in the draught. You nod. Door yawns open, night exhales long and slow. Fog again, but higher now. A low ceiling rather than floor. Breath forms clouds around every word. You walk at Rufus's right flank, lamp pressed against chest, flame peering through vent holes like curious owl eyes. 6 sets of boots crunch gravel. Straw left from mule bedding hides underfoot, crackling like frostbitten parchment. At the stair to the rampart, torches wait, wedged upright in a sconce. One by one, soldiers trade wooden cups for resin-wicked pine. You hold the bronze lamp while Rufus lights each torch. Flame leaps from little metal heart to thick wooden soul, chuff, 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 until 5 torches bloom. He relights the lamp, returns it to you. In case the torches misbehave, he winks. The climb begins, 33 steps, each uneven from countless iron nails hammered, pried, hammered anew. Step, breathe, step. Lamplight caresses granite blocks, left damp by drizzle. A slug glistens on one riser, silver doubloon of slime. A soldier whispers, "Lucky coin," pockets it using a scrap of parchment. Second PG-13. Might fetch a kiss if cleaned properly. Rufus snorts, promising to charge for snail maintenance in the next ledger. Rampart top, a narrow aisle of flagstones, crenellations to your left, parapet drop to your right. Wind runs unchecked, tugging torches backward like reins on wild horses. Flames trail banners of cinder sparks. Lamp still calm, sheltered by bronze feathers. First checkpoint, turret 48. Off-going guards lean against wall, exchanging last minutes of warmth. They greet Rufus with half salute, half yawn. Reports traded. No sign of raiders. 1 owl, 3 phantom hoofbeats, likely echo. Fog thickening. A ledger chunk past, wax tablet edges chewed by cold. You catch a glance of scribbled note. Oil low, send fresh jar. A brazier inside turret belly cradles coals the colour of winter roses. Wind funnels down, arrow slit, coaxing coals to hum. A guard tosses chip of pine, resin flares, scent lifts sweet black pepper. You inhale, Lungs bloom open. Rufus signs the tablet with stylus shortened from overuse. Fresh guards shoulder into niche, staking claim to warmth. Down rampart again. The torches flicker, one sputters, recovers. A random burst of wind steals your hood. Cloak hood flips, wax nose, you right it, grin. The lamp's lid rattles approvingly. Behind you, the youngest trooper curses his cloak tie. Third PG-13. These knots are tighter than the quarters in Londinium's cheapest pleasure house. Rufus hisses him quiet, but chuckles. Where wall bends south, a stretch runs above the civilian vicus. Lights below, tavern windows, smithy coals. Severina's loft, where bees sleep in wicker hives. From that loft, a faint hum leaks upward, dreaming wings calibrating dawn. Soldiers fall silent. Wind carries hum like distant lyre. Remember chapter 4? The melody fits. Halfway along, a stone bears a gouged inscription. K. APR AD 130. Snow up to waist. Proof one bored soldier kept diary in granite. Your fingers brush groove, ice crust lines, letters, chilling skin. Lamplight gathers inside cut, filling it with molten gold. Time becomes honey for a heartbeat. Now the path narrows. The Vani, a covered gallery added after last year's arrow scare. Roof beams creak, wooden ribs above bruised sky. A door flaps, banging. Inside, barrels of javelin shafts lean like captive reeds. Rufus orders quick inventory. 4 barrels, 3 missing lids. 1 shaft chewed by what looks like teeth. Sheep, wonders soldier. Goat, offers another. Ambitious goose, you mutter. Laughter hushes the wind for 1 bright second. Past Vinny, the wall widens again, and you see the beacon tower, our destination, standing solitary, its beacon brazier currently dark. Rufus sighs, lighting it marks midpoint of shift change. You cross open ground, boots slurping in sodden moss between flagstones. Lamplight wobbles. Torchbearers hold flame sideways to feed oxygen. Sparks paint swirling runes on fog. At tower base, a ladder climbs into gloom. Rufus ascends first. You follow, lamp clinking. Wood rungs are slick, but your palm finds each rung as if guided by whispered numbers. At top, platform opens. 360-degree night ocean. Wind here is commander. It strips warmth like bark. Your cloak flaps, comes owl wings. Beacon brazier squats on tripod, filled with damp charcoal drowsing under oil-soaked rags. Rufus lowers his torch. Flame bites cloth. Cloth hisses, then roars bright, loud. Heat gushes upward, flattening fog into glowing halo. The youngest soldier cheers. The flame replies with vertical roar, throwing sparks that sail south, flick out. Lamp still steady in your hands, tiny sibling of beacon. Rufus nods to it. Will you do the honours? You step closer, raise the lamp. Beacon flame bows in greeting. You open bronze lid. Wind snatches a sip of orange sesame scent. You tilt flask, a single bead falls, shines midair, lands on coal, bursting into blue flash. Beacon brightens. Sentinel to east will see it, pass signal eastward, ancient telephone line of flame. For a moment, you and beacon and lamp breathe in unison. Then wind loops again, howls, but flame stands tall. Historians still argue whether this relay system ever failed. Records show at least one night in IT 131 when signal passed coast to coast in under an hour, faster than galloping courier. You step back, torchbearers stamp feet. A soldier stretches arms, hawk silhouette cutting through beacon fire aura. He quotes Seneca badly. Ignis aurum, probat. Fire tests, gold. His companion corrects pronunciation. Bragging grammar lessons cost him 3 dice losses. They shove each other, mellow. Suddenly clouds part, moon emerges, thin, silver sickle. Light meets beacon glow, forging two suns, pale and fiery, twin coins tossed into black-blue well. You watch, lamp flickering approval. Moonlight paints armor plates milk grey, beacon burns them copper. Together they carve myth shapes in the air. Time to descend. Beacon left to roar, torches spluttering. Ladder down, boots on damp stone. Rufus consults water clock in his mind. Half shift past, he sends 2 men back along eastern patrol. Others follow you west. You remain at his side, lamp still breathing. On return leg, you notice ice crystals forming inside arrow loops, fractals catching torch glare. World's smallest cathedrals built in seconds. You lean, blow gentle, frost melts to pearl droplets. One soldier presses fingertip, tastes. Salt. He frowns. Odd fact, winter sea spray can ride inland on violent squalls, seeding salt frost this far from coast. Wind laughs through arrow slit, confirms. Past turret 49, rampart curves south. There a half-collapsed pillar rack waits for repair. Rufus commands a stop. 2 men wedge spears back into order, cursing nails. You hold lamp overhead. Bronze lid casts star-like pattern across broken wood. Task done, rack stands, wobbly but proud. Good enough, says Rufus. If it falls again, we'll blame the slug fortune. Approaching the stair down to yard, you sense warmth pushing up, kitchen stove reigniting. The air changes, smells of nutmeg and onions caramelizing. Torches dim, oil nearly spent. Lamp still bright but modest, refusing arrogance. Back in yard, Mira waits. Second pot of barley broth steaming. Soldiers trade torches for cups. Hot grain perfumes night. The goose has retreated to barrel. Eyes baleful, wings folded like disgruntled magistrate. One soldier offers slug fortune to bird. Bird snaps, drops slug, honks disgust. Everyone laughs, fatigue loosening shoulders. Mira touches your sleeve. You look frost-kissed. She presses a mug into palm. Milk warmed with nutmeg and a spoon of last honey scrapings. You sip, warmth spreads like thick ink across cold parchment inside you. She nods satisfied. Rufus signs shift completion on wax slate. Stylus strokes quick. He proclaims the night still dull as old bread. No raids, 1 slug acquisition. He salutes you with cup. Your lamp saved toes and temper? The youngest adds, and likely my backside dignity. 4th PG-13. Mira flicks his ear. He yelps. Soldiers disperse, some to bunkhouse, others to stables. Wind still roams but less fierce, having delivered mischief. You set bronze lamp on bench. Flame droops, sleepy. You snuff it with pinched breath. Lid clicks, smoke plume, twirls upward, smelling of oranges again. Candle inside tavern glimpses smoke, responds with faint sigh. You climb stairs to your room, cloak heavy with fog stories. Enter, lamplight memory, still ambience. Though lamp is dark, you place it on sill, frost kisses metal, quick, shy. You slip cloak off. Lanolin warmth mixing with cumin broth create odd comfort smell. Straw mattress greets you, springs exhale. Lying down, you hear wind narrating rampart shifts beyond shutters. Low, flexible. You picture beacon blaze still roaring, passing whispers to eastern towers, each flame leaning into next, chain of careful hearts. Candle by bed, wavers, wax pool mirrors, half moon now hiding again. You blow candle gently. Darkness wraps room, soft but not empty. Glows with after images of torches, of slug coin, of crystalline frost cathedrals. You close eyes, foot-aching rhythm recedes, replaced by hush. Somewhere outside, watch boots tap new cadence. Inside, your pulse finds slower meter. You float between breaths, warm broth weight in belly, cold wind memory on cheeks, small slug luck in mind's pocket. Take your time, no hurry. Beacon spits one last spark across night. Wind delivers faint echo. Inside you drift, lampless but alight, slipping deeper, where footsteps are clouds and duty is merely hush. Night thins, pale as milk. You lie beneath the roof beams again, the wool blanket rising and falling with each slow breath, breathing you just as surely as you breathe it. Far below, the last guard calls the final watch note, one clear tap of spear on stone, and the whole fort seems to sigh, relieved that nothing more is required until dawn. Candlelight lingers by your elbow, a single trembling almond of gold. Night wind still noses the shutter, gentle now, no longer prowling for mischief, only tasting the cool before first birds sing. The blanket is scratchy in places, but warm-weighted, patient, smelling of rosemary tallow, wood smoke, and faint orange oil from the lamp you carried hours ago. You shift, and the rough wool whispers against linen, a soft sea shush. That sound pairs with the distant hush of river water battering pilings beneath the Roman bridge, one lullaby near, one far, both drawing you downward. Take a breath. Cool air carries 3 layered scents. First, bread crust cooling in the bakery. Charlotte left the window unlatched. Second, beeswax from Severina's loft as her hives heat themselves for dawn patrol. Third, the shy pepper sweet of crushed gorse flowers, blown all the way from the slope beyond the vallum. Taste them on the back of your tongue, grain, wax, wildflower, and feel your pulse soften, as if each flavor were a finger smoothing restless thoughts. A distant clatter jolts, only a mule tossing his head, tack jingling, but memory of torches and beacon blaze flickers. You smile, tuck blanket under chin, remember the slug, lucky coin. Historians still argue whether Roman soldiers truly believed slugs foretold weather. Pliny mentions rain slugs, but skeptics frown. Either way, yours crawls now across the courtyard barrel, writing tiny silver runes no chronicler will copy. Wind returns, glides through shutter gap, brushes cheek cool, leaves again. Candle stoops, recovers, rhythm of candle, and gem continues, faithful metronome. Wax droplet trails down flank, pauses, tick. You watch it, bead, drop, land on saucer. Another tick, perfect, soothing. A mouse scurries overhead, chasing crumbs in the thatch. You catch its muffled footfalls, 4 taps, then hush. A gecko squeaks complaint of territory, tiny frontier skirmish above your bed. A PG-13 chuckle slips from your lips. At least they're not arguing about socks and chili like the legionaries. Mouse pauses as though insulted, then resumes patrol. You close eyes, yet room grows brighter inside lids. Memories glowing, forge sparks, lyre strings, honey droplets, shield dice, slug fortune. Each shines like coin in lamplight, then folds back into night. Blanket heat blooms across shoulders, seeps down spine. Straw mattress shifts, settling like sand sculpting shorelines around your hips. Every creak of reed cord sings small lull. Beyond shutter, the moon rides lower, silver coin half bitten. It lights the wall stones in cold ink, brushes the rampart, where fresh watch now leans on pillar, and wonders if loved ones in distant Taraco stare at same moon. Somewhere, a flute breath, maybe mere wind in arrow slot, spirals one descending note. You answer with slower breath, gifting it to dark. Another PG-13 flash. Memory of Decanus. Rufus claiming torch smoke cures constipated bravery better than prune wine. The thought floats, fizzles, drifts out like spark into fog. Blanket edge warms lips. You exhale, interweave, sending threadbare tufts fluttering. They tickle nose, smell of lanolin. You cough a single sheepish laugh. Time slides, candle shorter, wax pool wider, wind quieter. You count breaths, 1 for bread, 2 for bees, 3 for gorse. Repeat. On breath 12, you sense footfall outside door. Hostess mirror, soft slipper, quick check. Door crack opens, hinge sigh. She peeks, candle glows on her cheek. She sees you half asleep, mouths rest, pulls door. Before it closes, she whispers, 3rd PG-13. If slug sneaks in, charge him room fee. Door clicks, footsteps fade. Blanket hums now, yes hums, with stored forge resonance. You lay palm on chest, feel heartbeat, echo hammer. Anvil, slow, sure, gently ringing. Ignis aurum probat, you murmur, misquoting soldier. And in blanket's heat, your worries temper, bright edge, but pliant. Now night wind brings final courier, cool tide of dew, heavy air, smelling of peat smolder and distant heather. It dips through shutter, coats skin, candle bores, blue edge trembling, but steadies. Wax drop, tick, slower. You catch last conscious sights. A beam above bears scratch circle. Sun symbol, cut by board mason AD 124. Still crisp. Candlelight fills groove, making dawn preview. Rafters house spiderweb strung like harp. Each strand glistens lamp gold, wind silver. Beyond, a star, just one, twinkles through slit. Mars. No, maybe Arcturus, shepherd star. It pulses amber, matches candle, nods. Another breath, eyelids heavy, drift. Blanket embraces coils, straw squeaks lullaby. You hear wind hush, candle hush, heart hush, layers folding. Suddenly, dream threshold. You stand again on wall, slug coin in pocket, lamp bright as little sun. But fear not, no raiders, no horns, only bees rising, each carrying lamp spark, drifting to paint constellations over bog. Forge sparks join, dice pips join, lyre notes join. Night sky brightens with memories. You watch from rampart, blanket now cloak of stars. Then bees settle, sparks settle, notes hush, leaving single steady candle inside ribcage. It pulses, pulses, slower. Take your time. We're not in a hurry. Wind repeats phrase, softer. Candle dims, moon sets, horizon hints rose. But you slip beneath, deeper, weightless, blanketed by wall, by lamp glow, by wallstone's quiet promise that nothing will wake you early, save birdsong and warm bread steam. Sleep now, breathe. Let the wind close shutter, candle stand guard, and blanket keep every ember of warmth until morning nudges gentle fingers at your brow. You lie still, blanket drawing its slow tide across your breath. The candle beside you breathes its last, wick bowing in a tiny blue sigh, then dark. Yet the room does not fall into emptiness. It opens, wide, soft, endless, like a velvet sky after rain. Listen. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the harmony that gathers when every note has found its perfect rest. Below, the courtyard settles, stones cooling beneath a hush of dew. The rampart drums no more, the boots have ceased their counting. Even the forge dreams in ember grey, its sparks curled like fireflies, asleep in jars. Night wind lingers at the shutter, gentle as a cat's tail, combing the beams with cool fingers. It has carried stories all evening, bread, iron, honey, dice, lamp oil, and now brings its last gift, the faintest scent of heather, blooming somewhere leagues away, proof that dawn is already steeping light beyond the hill crest. Take a breath. Feel the wool over your chest. It rises a finger's breadth, falls a feather's width. Each fibre remembers every shepherd who guided it, every field that birthed it, every storm that shaped it. You are wrapped not only in cloth, but in time, time carded and spun, woven into warmth, just for this moment. Your thoughts warm too, tumbling slowly, the baker's quiet laughter, the smith's iron-scented grin, the harpist's river-blue cloak, the slug's silver rune, all drift like petals in a still pond, circling, circling, then resting against the edges of sleep. Outside an alg is one final note, deep, hollow, then none. The goose, heroic watchdog, buries its beak under wing, surrendering at last. Bees hum in their loft, a low golden OM, soft engine of a new day not yet begun. You smile into the dark. I wonder, do you feel how history curls around you, like smoke around a candle's glass? Nothing here is lost. Every step you took on the rampart, every breath taken in bakery steam, every flicker of lamplight on wall stone, all fold into this hush, kept safe as coins in a velvet purse. Stretch if you wish, let shoulders sink, let jaw unclench, let tongue rest behind teeth. Allow gravity to finish its gentle alchemy, drawing weariness down through straw, through beam, through earth, where it will seed tomorrow's clover. A mist of dream gathers. You glimpse the inn-yard glowing mauve beneath dawn's first vow. You taste wind chilled by river glass. You hear distant Latin rolling home to Rome. But these images blur, soften, dissolve into dark honey. The mind need not hold them. They will wait on the other side of sleep, ready to bloom again in morning light. Now lantern eyes close across the fort, one by one. Turret, turret, smithy, loft, stable. Last of all, your own lamp on a sill dims, its orange oil spent, its bronze lid cooling to quiet metal. A thin ribbon of smoke twists upward, writes the simplest lullaby. Rest, rest, rest. Let it coil above your pillow. Let it guide dreams to kind shores where wheat whispers, where salt wind carries no chill, where wolves and geese trade truce beneath silver stars. Feel the mattress cradle your spine. Hear heartbeats align with distant wing beats, slow, sure, grounded. Wind strokes shutter once more, then steps back, satisfied that all is well. If worries flutter, offer them to the night. Candle's vanished flame still remembers how to warm them. Wind knows how to scatter ash over the garden, feeding shy seedlings. Tomorrow needs them more than you do now. You are safe, you are held. A quilt of centuries tucks around your ankles. Rome itself keeps watch at the wall. And beyond, fields of heather wait to tint the dawn a tender purple. Sleep, traveller, sleep until sun fingers your eyelids, until bread crust cracks its first greeting, until lamp oil warms for another day's vigil. And when you wake, may you rise with quieter breath, softer shoulders, steadier heart, carrying a small, hidden glow from this long, gentle night. Like a lamp under bronze feathers, it will wait, ready to guide you whenever evening falls again. Take your time. We're not in a hurry. Good night, and sweetest dreams, always.